This is my summary of the anime Windbreaker. If you like my summaries, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. The story begins as we see someone barely able to balance on a tightrope. The students gossip about how he's always getting into fights and how he's nothing but trouble. Even the parents talk about how dangerous he is. Everyone thinks he's too dangerous to even look at, but it's like that because everyone knows he doesn't know how to deal with people. They mock his appearance, saying he won't even dye his hair black. They even have a problem with the color of one of his eyes, claiming he must be cursed. Everyone thinks he's unpleasant, and the boy eventually falls off the rope. We then see our protagonist angry for the first time. His name is Sakura. He explains that he likes strong people and doesn't give a damn about the weak. Nearby, a guy is harassing a girl, asking if she wants to do something. She says she wants to crack some eggs on their heads, but that would be a waste of good eggs. The guy warns her not to act so full of herself and stops her from leaving. Sakura then explains that what he hates most are weak people who think they're strong. Sakura steps in on the gang of harassers and says it's way too early in the day to be acting that ridiculous. The leader tries to attack Sakura, but unfortunately, he's exactly the type of person Sakura despises. Sakura takes him down easily and wonders what's going through his head to make him think he's strong when he clearly isn't. Sakura demands they remember his name and face so they can warn all the weaklings they know to run when they see him. Sakura's a bit unhinged because he also wants them to know his name so they can tell the strong ones where to find him. He announces that he's Haruka Sakura from freaking Sakura High. Sakura walks away from those idiots, but the girl stops him to say thank you. Sakura is confused and asks if she's talking to him. She confirms that she is. And Sakura makes it clear he didn't do it to save her. He only beat those guys because they were seriously getting on his nerves. Sakura refuses the offer of food, but she ends up feeding him anyway. She can tell he's not from around here. Most people don't visit this place. She explains that the gang he just fought has been causing a lot of trouble, and public safety in the city is pretty much gone. She admits she's not from here either, and introduces herself as Tachibana. Sakura doesn't get why she's being so nice, especially after he just beat up 5 guys. Most people would be afraid of him. He reluctantly eats the food when she asks him to. And he's surprised at how good it tastes. He wonders if her place is going to blow up, but she corrects him because the dummy was trying to say, "Take off." Tachibana points out that his hair and eye colors are all wrong, and he wonders if she has a problem with that. She's more amazed than anything else, but the paranoid Sakura thinks she wants to fight. Sakura is surprised because normally people are disgusted by his appearance and demand that he dye his hair. Sakura explains that looks mean nothing in a fight. And that's why he came to Furim. Furim is known for having students with the worst grades, but they're also the most amazing fighters. They're the ones who get kicked out of other schools and end up in Furim. They fight every day to decide who's on top. They're so dedicated to fighting that they even brawl on holidays, and Sakura is determined to become the leader. Tachibana realizes that Sakura has some very lofty goals. But Sakura admits bluntly that he's dumb as a brick and fighting is all he knows. But to him, there's nothing better than fighting to reach the top. And this place was the perfect fit. It doesn't take long for Tachibana to notice that he's already wearing his school uniform, even though school only starts tomorrow. And because he's all excited, the embarrassed Sakura explains that he just moved and didn't have anything else to wear. But she just teases him more. Our hero. As always, Sakura resorts to fighting and demands they take this discussion outside. At that moment, Tachibana notices a customer forgot their bag, but Sakura reminds her. As Sakura heads home, he can't stop thinking about how strange that whole encounter was. The old man gave him some sweets and told Tachibana to thank him. Sakura isn't used to so many compliments, so he just thinks the whole town is weird, including Tachibana. He points out that he's wearing the uniform of a school full of delinquents and his appearance is super strange. It doesn't make sense that people are thanking him. Normal people would be on high alert around him and wouldn't trust him. Once, Sakura found someone's wallet and was immediately accused of stealing it. Then Tachibana said Sakura did well to come to Furim, but unfortunately, there's no chance he'll become the leader. Shockingly, she said straight up that he might not even be able to beat anyone there, let alone be the top dog. Sakura pointed out that she has no idea how strong he is. She admits he might have those strong muscles, but says he still won't be the boss. His problem is that he's completely alone. Sakura is getting really mad and says he's not so weak that he needs to rely on someone else to win. As he walks away, Tachibana clarifies that she's not talking about physical strength. She suggests he go meet some of the guys from Furim because that way he'll stand out. Nearby, a group of delinquents is wreaking havoc and an old lady calls out for help. Sakura runs into the same guys from before, and the leader is surprised he showed up. He simply calls our boy trash, but Sakura is just trying to ignore him. The leader realizes he didn't forget Sakura's face and starts mocking his appearance. This guy is shaken when he realizes Sakura's hair and eye colors are real. They thought he was just doing a bad cosplay, but now he points out that being real is even more disgusting. Sakura smiled because that's the kind of reaction he used to get because of his looks. That disgust. He got used to it, but it's fine because he gave up on all that. Sakura still wants to feel like he has some worth. If he can beat the guy in front of him, he might feel superior. The problem is, Sakura can't stop thinking about what Tachibana said, that he won't be the leader because he's alone. The leader declares that his gang is going to start a war against Furim because Sakura punched him. But Sakura isn't even listening. He's completely focused on Tachibana's words while punching the leader again and declaring that he's not the one running away from people. Sakura expressed his true feelings about his appearance. It makes no sense how people act. He knows better than anyone that he looks weird, but he never did anything wrong. The people who criticize him, that's just who he is. Sakura starts defeating this large group of thugs in his mind. As long as he's the strongest and the best fighter, he'll be the boss. Being alone doesn't mean anything. The gang tries to attack him all at once. But it's useless because Sakura is way more skilled than them. Sakura fought off any fool who came near him, and the fight was totally one-sided even though he was outnumbered. At that moment, one of the thugs grabs Tachibana. But he pays a heavy price for that dumb move because Sakura just knocks him out. Tachibana showed her gratitude, but Sakura has to make it clear again that those idiots only pissed him off. They tried to pull a knife. So he told them to keep the fight fair. One guy tries to sneak up on him, but ends up learning a very valuable lesson. Sakura keeps fighting more of them, but he's stuck defending Tachibana in one spot. He wonders why the hell he's protecting her in the first place, and reminds himself that helping others never ends well. Still, Sakura keeps protecting her, but eventually one of the thugs uses the knife to slash his leg. Sakura's now in a really tough spot and thinks that this is exactly why he doesn't defend people. Once again, he questioned why he decided to help her and got ready to take a blow to the head. Right then, someone steps in and stops the attack, and Sakura notices this stranger wearing a Furin uniform. This guy surprisingly blocked the bat with his back and told Tachibana not to tell a certain person that she was in danger. This guy took down the bat wielder and directly told the thugs that they've messed up this whole town. His friends show up, and the guy furiously tells the gang that they're in big trouble. Backup has arrived, but they're disappointed to see so few enemies. They didn't all need to come to fight. Sakura is absolutely stunned because he can't understand why Furin is saving his skin. The thugs are terrified when they see this guy named Hitagi, but they still think they've got the upper hand because they have more men. Hitagi tells the others to quickly deal with these fools, so they start destroying them. One guy rushes at Sakura, and Sakura is in a tough spot because his leg is hurt. That's when Arata saves him again and tells Sakura to back off if he's injured. Sakura gets annoyed and points out that Arata's not his boss, saying those thugs were his to deal with. Arata just tells him to stop moving because it makes it harder to protect him. Sakura is completely shocked and looks around to realize that the townspeople are cheering for the Furin guys. Sakura can't believe what he's hearing, and Tachibana reminds him how she said public safety in the city was practically non-existent. But all of that has changed, and it's all thanks to the students of Furin. The first thing they did was put up a bulletin board at the city entrance. It says that if anyone brings trouble to the city, hurting people or property, they'll take action, no matter who it is. Tachibana explains that at some point, the townspeople gave the Furin students a new name because they fought to protect the city. They're known as the city's wind-breaking shield Windbreaker. After the fight, all the townspeople come out to thank the boys, even though they were once seen as low-level delinquents. The students from Furin now have a lot of respect in the community. Though they still fight a lot, they're loved by everyone. But more importantly, they're needed. Sakura is completely stunned by how different this city is because the fighters are treated like heroes. They look like delinquents and fight all the time, but no one is afraid of them. Sakura feels all kinds of emotions and is shocked when the townspeople say he did a great job holding things down on his own. A sweet old lady even offers to treat his injury, but Sakura can't handle all this kindness and demands that everyone cut it out. Tachibana stays calm and starts treating his wound, reminding him how she said he was completely alone, but she explained that she could see through him and knew he wasn't choosing to be alone. She can't fully understand him, but she says the people of this city need his strength. Sakura can't process everything that's happening, and bluntly says he doesn't need anyone and doesn't want to get involved. Tachibana quickly points out, though, that his actions say something different. She mentions the old man he helped and how he bravely fought to protect her. Tachibana says he hasn't given up on people, and that he doesn't need to. At the very least, she says she won't turn her back on him, so she asks him to turn toward her too. Tachibana is sure that this is the path for him to become who he wants to be. Sakura is still struggling to accept all this. but he suddenly rushes toward the others. He jumps into the air and points out how delinquents now look like heroes. He admits that all this talk about being the city's shield sounds pretty cool, and he just wrecks the gang leader who had been terrorizing the city. Everyone watches in shock, and Sakura wonders if people really will stand by his side now. We find out this is the story of how a low-level outcast who only knows how to fight becomes the hero of the city. Sometime later, Sakura arrives at Tachibana's restaurant all pissed off because he had to carry Grandma Sato on his back. He's worried she'll hurt herself getting down, but he just tells Grandma to hurry up. But damn, Grandma Sato surprises us with a smooth landing, and Sakura is furious because she said her hips hurt so bad she couldn't walk. The old lady thanks him, but Sakura still doesn't know how to deal with so much kindness. Tachibana stops him from leaving and serves him food, because today is his entrance ceremony. It's still really early. So she points out again that he's all excited for school. Sakura denies it, but she totally gets it since Furim has a lot of interesting characters. At that moment, a boy named Nirai shows up and faceplants on the floor. He asks Tachibana what she thinks of his new uniform, but Sakura points out that the tags are still on his jacket. Nirai quickly rips them off, and Tachibana tells Sakura that they'll be in the same class. Nirai notices Sakura's wild hair and eye, and Sakura thinks he's got a problem with it. Nirai is surprised by his attitude and figures Sakura must be going through some tough stuff at such a young age. He tries to understand why someone like Sakura ended up in their town. Sakura feels insulted, but Tachibana assures him that Nirai acts like that with everyone. Nirai gets excited and tells Sakura that Furin isn't a normal school. The guys from Furin defend the locals, protect the weak, and crush the bad guys. They're real heroes of justice. Everyone who comes to Furin wants to be like them and protect the city too. Nirai is one of them. But he wonders why someone with no ties to Furin like Sakura ended up there. Sakura explains everything and reveals that he's there to reach the top. Protecting the city is cool and all, but there are a bunch of strong people there. And Sakura just wants to be the best among them. And then he gets all serious and tells Nirai not to talk big if he can't back it up. But the reason he says that is because he's afraid Sakura might go bald. Sakura is tired of his little comedy act, so he demands a fight. But it's getting late, and Nirai has to leave. He wants to do 3 patrol rounds around the city before the entrance ceremony. He declares that from today on, he's going to be a hero of justice. But man, he's showing just how clumsy he is as he walks off. Tachibana immediately sees how hilarious this guy is, but Sakura can't believe a total idiot like him wants to be some kind of hero of justice. Tachibana is super surprised to hear Sakura talking about someone's appearance, but Sakura means that guys like Nirai always chicken out when it comes to fighting. To Sakura, that's the most pathetic thing ever. Tachibana says it's just his assumption, but Sakura explains that he's seen it happen too many times. So Tachibana shares a little wisdom with him. She points out that coffee fruit looks very different from the beans she has in jars. The lesson is that if you only see things from one angle, you'll never understand the truth. She thinks Sakura shouldn't judge so quickly and tells him to get to know people better to see who they really are. Sakura takes this lesson seriously, but he thinks she means Nirai is an amazing fighter. Tachibana gets super disappointed, wondering if fighting is the only thing he cares about. After Sakura walks off, he still thinks he's onto something, and out of nowhere, someone stops him and offers him some free bread. The guy is super confused. Then the baker explains that the kids from Furin always help the city, and he wants to give back. They recognize Sakura as the guy who stood up to the gang the other day, and everyone's been talking about him. Sakura doesn't know how to handle the compliments and tries to leave, but they insist he take some sandwiches for lunch. As Sakura walks through the city, he realizes that a lot of other people feel the same way. He can't figure out what the problem is and wonders what's wrong with all these people being so friendly to a guy like him. But then Sakura realizes he was just assuming they would treat him badly. At that moment, Sakura is shocked when a girl begs for his help down a shady alley. Nirai is being beaten up because he tried to stop a guy from harassing a girl. The guys mock him, saying he's not protecting the city. He's the one who needs protection. Nirai tries to get them to take it back, but they just shove him. Then the guys are totally surprised when Nirai declares that anyone who causes harm or messes up the city will be eliminated by Furin. Everyone starts laughing, saying only guys on superhero shows talk like that. The leader gets really pissed and says that no matter if it's in Urea or Windbreaker, he's the one who's going to get eliminated. The guys are about to attack him, but Sakura shows up just in time to help Nirai out. Nirai is angry, shocked, and wonders why Sakura is saving him, but Sakura doesn't even give him the time of day. The bullies are laughing because Sakura stepped in to save his friend. But Sakura feels insulted by that. He reveals that it's not true, and he just hates weak people who think they're strong. Sakura bluntly says it disgusts him, so the bullies decide to show what they've got. Nirai fears for his safety because he's sure Sakura can't take them all alone, but there's nothing to worry about. The guys are knocked out just seconds later. Nirai can't believe what he's seeing and wonders who the hell Sakura really is. Nirai is honestly scared of him now, but still thanks Sakura for the help. Nirai is almost certain that Sakura must be disappointed to see someone like him attending a school like Furim. But Sakura simply points out that he wasn't saving him. Sakura calls him a typical poser and warns Nirai to know his limits and what he's really capable of. Nirai tells the story of how he used to get beat up all the time in middle school. Then one day, someone from Furin came to his rescue, someone he would normally have been afraid of. But at that moment, that person was really cool, and Nirai wanted to be like him. So he enrolled in Furin to become amazing too. But now he's realizing just how pathetic he really is. Sakura realizes he made assumptions about Nirai being a coward in fights, but it's clear that Nirai can stand up for himself. Sakura tells him he's a weak fighter. But maybe there's still a chance he's not completely ridiculous. Nirai is surprised. The girl he protected shows up to thank him for defending her. She thanks Sakura too, but he tries to dodge it. Nirai cuts in and pulls out his little notebook again. He bombards Sakura with questions about his height, weight, blood type, and hobbies. The guy goes nuts analyzing Sakura and jotting down notes like crazy. Sakura cuts him off, so Nirai explains that he likes collecting data on guys he admires and thinks are cool. Sakura basically tells him to do whatever he wants, so Nirai takes that as an invitation to observe Sakura up close and in person. Nirai offers to show him around the city, saying he might not be much help in a fight, but he's the best guide when it comes to the city and its people. Sakura is surprised when Nirai says he can guide him to the top. But in the next moment, Nirai has to push Sakura to keep walking, but Sakura's focused on eating because he's super hungry. After a fight, Sakura is amazed at how good the bread is, and Nirai gets all excited too. But then he realizes they need to hurry and get to school. Finally, the two arrive at school, and Sakura is excited because there are going to be a bunch of people just like the ones he met earlier. Nirai checks the class list and gets all pumped because he sees that he and Sakura are in the same class. Nirai is impressed by all the other names on the list, but he actually doesn't know any of them personally. They're just people he admires. Sakura doesn't think it matters who's in their class, but Nirai points out that they're going to be spending a lot of time with these people. Nirai is shocked by one name in particular, and Sakura notices he looks totally drained. Nirai composes himself and asks Sakura to try being friendly with everyone in class, maybe even smile. Sakura thinks Nirai must be joking, but then Nirai reminds him that the folks from Furin banded together to protect the city. Sakura isn't from there, so these guys are definitely going to ask why he came to Furin. Nirai thinks it's crucial to show that Sakura isn't a threat, that he's not an enemy of Furin, but Sakura isn't even paying attention because he's busy warming up. Nirai wonders why, and is shocked when Sakura says he's just preparing for anything. Nirai is disappointed that Sakura isn't listening, and he warns that even the smallest misunderstanding as an outsider could turn the whole school against him. Sakura doesn't care if every single person turns on him, and reminds Nirai that he's there to fight and climb to the top. Sakura enters the classroom, and Nirai panics because it's super obvious that everyone is staring at him. The room is full of some pretty tough-looking students, but Sakura couldn't ask for a better audience. One student knows who Sakura is, but Sakura is on high alert, and Nirai apologizes for him and instantly recognizes the student from his notebook. Then the guy says he's Jack Sparrow. Sakura falls for it. At first, Nirai had no idea that this cold-looking guy could be such a jokester. Nirai knows his real name is Suo, and Suo says his eye patch seals an ancient Chinese spirit in his right eye. Sakura loses his patience when he realizes this guy just talks nonsense. But then Suo gets serious and squares up to Sakura. The tension rises, and Nirai thinks outsiders really are treated like anomalies. Sakura gets ready to fight, and Nirai fears there's no stopping it. Then Sakura is shocked when Suo just pats him on the back and compliments him for being the star of yesterday's big fight. The other students wonder what he's talking about. Then Suo explains that before Arata showed up, Sakura was already handling the situation and protecting the city. He just didn't know it. The other students start gathering around Sakura. There were rumors about an unknown student in their uniform, and they're happy that person helped the city. They get a little too close for comfort, but Sakura realizes it's better than them turning against him. It's pretty clear they don't see him as an enemy, so Nirai relaxes. The person he was afraid of should be okay with Sakura too. These guys still wonder why Sakura came to Furin in the first place. So Sakura reveals he came to take the #1 spot. Everyone is shocked, so Nirai tries to explain that Sakura isn't here to beat them up, but Sakura says he is. Then his new friend jumps in and tells him to chill. Just then, a desk gets thrown, and it's from a seriously scary student. Sakura gets a look of excitement on his face, but Nirai begs him not to fight that guy. He's the most dangerous guy in their class, maybe in the whole school. And his name is Hotaru. Sakura says he'd rather fight a mad dog like him. Hotaru says he'll crush him. Hotaru throws a powerful punch, and Nirei is shocked to realize it moved him out of the way instantly. Sakura dodges too and praises Hotaru, saying he's exactly the kind of guy he expected to find at Furim. Hotaru gets even angrier, but Sakura is loving every second of it. This is exactly what he hoped for. Nirei is terrified but excited to see the chaos unfold. Suo explains that Sakura made a mistake by saying he wanted to be the boss in front of Hotaru. Sakura is doing everything he can to dodge Hotaru's attacks, while Suo reveals that Hotaru has represented Furin High School since their middle school days. Because of his dedication, Hotaru was the only one allowed to call himself Furin before things officially started. He's so loyal to the top dog that he earned the nickname Boss Fanatic. Another student begs Suo to stop the fight, convinced the new guy is going to get wrecked by Hotaru. But everyone's jaws drop when Sakura dodges another blow and counters. Sakura points out that Hotaru is just a fanboy of the boss, which means he can't think for himself. The guy probably can't even make his own decisions, so Sakura makes it clear that someone like that doesn't stand a chance against him. Hotaru, bloodied and furious, isn't backing down. They're about to keep fighting, but then an announcement interrupts them. The person on the speaker is fumbling with the mic, but eventually welcomes all the students. Sakura is seriously annoyed by the interruption and just wants to get back to fighting, but all the other students are completely focused on the announcement. Sakura wonders who this guy is that managed to grab everyone's attention. Turns out the guy's name is Umemiya, and Sakura finds out he's the boss of Furin, the toughest guy in the whole school. Everyone is eagerly waiting to hear what he has to say, but a friend says he forgot. He just tells everyone to remember to enjoy their youth. They're in high school now, so they should make a ton of memories. He suggests everyone hit the beach and grab some shaved ice, and Nirei can't believe what this goofball is saying, but Hotaru thinks he's mocking the top dog. Umemiya figures that with so many students, there's bound to be some misunderstanding, but he assumes they're not troublemakers who would cause a fight on the first day. Hotaru tries to hide the fact that some delinquents were already throwing punches on day one, so he wipes the blood from his face. Then the guy gets deadly serious. For a moment, he tells everyone to defend the damn city. They were given the name Furin, so they have to protect the people and everything that really matters. That's the only rule at school, and all the students accept it. Sakura is totally shocked that this guy isn't even in the damn room, but everyone is eager to follow his orders. And Sakura wonders just how insanely strong this guy must be. Umemiya just wants the two fighters to shake hands and show a deep understanding of youth. But Sakura's not even thinking the fight is over, and Nirei wonders why Sakura's face is turning red. Sakura tells him to shut up. Then Hotaru says a certain girl wouldn't be happy to hear he fought a classmate, and tells Sakura that showing respect to the other students is crucial if he wants to become the boss. Surprisingly, Hotaru wants to shake hands, so Nir begs Sakura to hurry up and do it. Sakura braces himself and tells himself to just shake the hand. He must have been through some tough times because he has to remind himself not to pull his hand away or slam Kotaro into the ground. Sakura shakes his hand, but finds it really weird to touch someone outside of a fight. Still, he's a bit glad to see their youth burning so brightly. The handshake is so firm that both of them silently wonder if the other is a gorilla. The other students are stunned. They can't believe Sakura actually landed a hit on Hotaru. Sakura is surprised by how kind everyone is, but he realizes they've been like this the whole time since he got to Furin. He stays quiet in his thoughts, while the other students start wondering if he passed out or something. Sakura plays along and thinks to himself that he's not going down that easy, but deep inside, he's honestly shocked that people can be this friendly. At that moment, the students are instructed to head outside, and not long after, Sakura is stunned to find out they have to paint over graffiti. Sakura has no idea why on earth they're doing this, but Nir is proud of doing a good job. He even gets complimented on his painting skills. We then get a flashback to when they were told to go outside. The student who gave the order explains he'll get in trouble if they take too long. It took nearly 8 minutes for them to head out. He says even little kids could have moved faster than these idiots. Sakura tells Inari that he saw Irad when he saved Tachibana, but Irad overhears and gets angry. Sakura wasn't supposed to mention Tachibana was there. Irad warns him that serious consequences could follow if anyone finds out Tachibana was in danger. He even threatens Sakura, but instead of doing anything, he just starts coughing up blood. Irad takes some stomach meds and says he doesn't know why Sakura came to this school, but he sure picked a tough leader to follow. Nir wonders what kind of guy Irad really is. Sakura explains he's the kind of weirdo who stresses out so much that he needs antacid pills. Nir is taking tons of notes on Hitagi, saying it's because Hitagi is one of the school's 4 kings. Umemiya sits at the top of Furin High, and just beneath him are his generals, the 4 kings. Each one acts like a captain for all 3 school years. They organize the students into patrol groups, with 2nd or 3rd years as captains. Sakura's team captain is Irad, and his team includes Inari, Suo, and Kotaro. Hotaru and Sakura are in the same group because Yumi told Mirage to keep an eye on the troublemakers. The guys are shocked that Mirage knows about the fight, but Sakura explains that he was just defending himself. Mirage has to separate them so they can focus on patrolling. Sakura points out that all they're doing is walking around, and wonders why they're not beating up intruders instead. Mirage explains that would be offensive, not defensive. Just walking around in uniform is enough to scare off smaller crews. That's the whole plan. Sakura thinks it's boring, but Irad adds that only liking fights doesn't make someone very fun either. Just then, Irad helps an old man with a ladder. Turns out, they're painting over graffiti because it's part of the community work assigned to the team. When they finish, they get food as thanks. Irad says he understands why Sakura likes fighting, because all the other guys from Furim were like that too. But eventually, they realized helping people in the city could also be fun. Sakura thinks for a moment and takes a bite of his food. During the patrol, they find a tunnel where Sakura sees a symbol of an ugly-looking dog. Minori wishes Sakura would watch his mouth and explains they're at the border between their territory and another group's. Once they cross the train tracks, it's like a completely different country with its own rules. Causing trouble over there would be dangerous. The other group's symbol is a lion's head. They believe in strength and use it to scare off outsiders. Sakura actually kind of likes that philosophy. Suddenly, they see a middle school kid from Furin being chased by some punks from Lion's Head. It's obvious the kid won't make it across the tracks in time, so Irad just lowers his head. There's nothing they can do. But then everyone loses it when Sakura and Kotaro step in to confront the Lion's Head guys. The others are panicking. This is forbidden territory. Sakura says the kid is one of their own, and both he and Kotaro point out that it was the Lion's Head crew who started the interference. Sakura tells Hotaru to step back. He can handle it alone. But Hotaru doesn't listen. The Lion's Head idiots start mocking their own teammate for getting knocked out with a single kick, and Sakura realizes how heartless they are, even to their own. Then things get serious. The Lion's Head goons start freaking out when someone shows up after seeing the commotion, and it's him. They can't believe it's this guy. He turns out to be Takami, the second in command of Lion's Head. Kagami casually greets Hitagi Kira and mentions that those idiots were chasing one of their own. Sakura is annoyed by how calm this guy is, but realizes Takami is the real deal when he finds out that Sakura and Kotaro knocked out one of his members. The knocked out guy gets up, furious that they broke the rules and stepped into their territory, but Kagami shocks everyone by smashing a bottle over his own head. He doesn't care whose territory it was. What matters is that the guy lost. Kagami starts pummeling him, punch after punch, saying losing means he's weak. Lion's Head doesn't tolerate weaklings. He keeps hitting him until Hiraishin steps in. Irad says Hiraishin is part of Kagami's team, but Kagami corrects him. He rips off the guy's Lion's Head jacket and says their crew doesn't need losers. Everyone is shocked to see this ruthless guy, but Sakura just thinks he's a jerk. He had assumed the Lion's Head crew believed strength was everything, but he points out that beating up the weak doesn't prove real strength. Sakura steps up to face this guy, disappointed because he thought he had found a fun group to deal with. Everyone is stunned that he's confronting Kagami and the rest of Lion's Head. They're sure someone's going to take him out for what he just said. But surprisingly, Kagami doesn't even care. He's more focused on Sakura's weird haircut. He also doesn't like how fast Sakura talks and says flat out that it's annoying. Kagami announces that he's made up his damn mind. He declares that when the time is right, he's going to beat Sakura into the ground. He even says he's memorized Sakura's face. After that, Lion's Head walks off. Shiori is terrified, saying that Sakura and Kotaro may have just started a full-blown war. Suo tries to calm him down, saying he doesn't want him ending up like Irad. Irad is so stressed that he pops 10 antacid pills, and someone has to remind him not to exceed the dosage. No one wishes Sakura hadn't provoked Takami, because maybe he would have let it go after that kick. But Irad knows better. He explains that Takami is probably the most territorial guy in Lion's Head. He wouldn't let something like that slide, but what's done is done. Then Irad surprises everyone by admitting that he should have taken the initiative and apologizes. He tells a middle school student named Sasaki to come along with them so they can report to Yumi. Sakura notices how bad Irad's stomach must be acting up and wonders if he's really just nervous about reporting to Yumi. Yumi seemed pretty laid back during the announcement, so Sakura's curious what kind of guy he really is. They arrive at the school rooftop, and everyone is amazed at how incredible it looks. Irad approaches Yumi, and Sakura gets ready to meet the big boss, but all the students are completely stunned when Yumi is just excited about his damn plants. The guy wants to throw a summer barbecue with everyone, and Sakura is questioning whether this guy is really the school's top dog. Jiraiya then says there's a serious issue, but Yumi says he already knows everything. which makes no sense since no one had a chance to tell him what happened, but it turns out he's just talking about his plants again. The team is finally starting to understand why Irad hates reporting to Yumi Miya. The guy never listens to a word. Sakura tries to get his attention, but Kotaro gets mad and says no one talks to his idol. Kotaro is ready to fight, but then remembers Yumi is right there and probably wouldn't approve. So everyone chills out while Yumi keeps rambling on about his plant empire, even though there are more important things going on. Sakura can't tell one plant from another, and while Yumi Miya might be a good person, Sakura's more confused than ever about why so many people respect him, after sitting through what feels like an eternity of his plant talk. The kid who got beat up earlier finally speaks up and explains what happened. Today, he saw a thief causing trouble in the city and tried to chase him, but without realizing it, he ended up crossing into Lion's Head territory. Their guys were after him, and there was no way he could escape. Just when he was about to give up, Sakura and Kotaro showed up like heroes and saved him. The kid always admired the Furim students and wanted to be like them, but all he did was start a fight with Lion's Head and drag everyone into trouble. He's truly sorry. Yumi calls him by name, Sasaki, and praises him for what he did. Sure, he might have accidentally sparked a war, but he did it trying to protect the people of this city, so there's nothing to apologize for. As for the war, Yumi says not to worry, he'll handle it personally. But seriously, he's dying to know how Sakura and Kotaro managed the rescue. Sasaki explains they knocked one of the guys down. Yumi knows full well that Lion's Head won't take that lightly, but he still finds it hilarious. Irad steps forward and apologizes, saying the whole mess happened on his watch, but Yumi doesn't blame him. Mistakes happen. Then Shiori snitches on Sakura for making things worse by provoking Kagami. Sakura explains he just couldn't stand Kagami, talking like strength is everything while picking on the weak, so he told him to his face without regrets. Yumi understands exactly what happened. He stands up, and Sakura thinks he's about to throw hands, but he just pats him on the head and says he was thinking the same thing. Those guys have a twisted mindset. Switching topics, Yumi says he heard about Sakura's heroic acts on the main street yesterday and today. He saved Sasaki, so Yumi praises him for taking care of their people. Hotaru's clearly jealous that Sakura's getting all the attention, and Sakura feels this strange sense of calm around Yumi. He's starting to understand why people are drawn to him, why his presence makes everyone feel safe. But Sakura's not the type to just soak in the warmth, so he brushes away a friend's hand. Just then, Irad gets a call from his buddy Kari, but all he hears are the words Lion's Head before the call drops. A friend asks if something's going on, but before they can react, a voice booms through a megaphone. Everyone turns toward the schoolyard and sees a guy dragging a knocked-out student. He announces himself as the leader of XX Orin, also known as Lion's Head, and his name is Tomehama. This guy came today and beat up several Furin students because he wants a fair fight with him, and the smile on his face shows just how excited he is. Mayuri is freaking out because the leader of Lion's Head is standing there in the flesh, while Sakura is hyped. He knows if this is the real Tomehama, he's stronger than Takami. At that moment, Sakura senses a wild presence behind him but can't quite place it. Then when he sees an eel figure slip away, he follows it, and the others follow him too. Once they're outside, a friend warns them not to get involved, but being Sakura, he insists on jumping into the fight. The friend gives him a cold warning. I don't repeat orders twice. Sakura is hit with a wave of obedience. He knows he'd get punched in the face if he said anything right now, but he's honestly confused. His friend's attitude changed so fast. He walks up to Hitomiyama and confronts him for still holding one of the Furin students by the hair. But Tomiyama just laughs in his friend's face about what he did. Sakura figures this guy must be either incredibly strong or just completely crazy to be bold enough to challenge the big guy like this. But this is exactly what he wants, to face Yumi Miya one-on-one. Now after what Sakura and Kotaro did, he has a valid excuse. Yumi just stays calm, while Tomiyama circles around him, begging for a fight like a kid asking to go to a party. But then a friend steps in and says that yeah, Furin did start things by knocking that guy out under the bridge, but Tomiyama definitely escalated it way more, so maybe now they can call it even. Tomiyama agrees that he's done enough for now to consider things settled temporarily. But that doesn't mean it's over. He suddenly kicks an eel mascot and grabs Yumi. Turns out he wasn't trying to catch him off guard. He just wanted to stir up trouble again to justify a fight with Yumi Miya. It makes no sense for him to be this desperate to fight. A friend asks what his goal is. Tomiyama says it's not just about wanting to fight. He wants Yumi Miya to be part of Lion's Head. He's felt lonely ever since becoming the leader. Meanwhile, Yumi Miya has tons of friends to hang out with. So in his mind, the logical solution is to take over Furin too. Then he can enjoy life with everyone. A friend understands where he's coming from. But before they can talk things out, some other Lion's Head members show up. Tomiyama is confused. They weren't called in. They say it was reckless of him to attack Furin on his own. Sakura and the others stand by Yumi. And even though Yumi tells them to step back again, Sakura refuses. He respects fair duels, but not unfair fights. Tomeyama is frustrated. He was so close to a real duel with Yumi. He demands that everyone else back off. But a duel seems unlikely now, especially with the whole school watching to see what happens. So Yumi steps forward and announces that he'll face Tomeyama in the duel he wants. He just asks that Tomeyama tells his team to step back so things don't get messy. Tomeyama is thrilled to finally get his fight, but then one of the Lion's Head punks starts mocking Yumi, calling him soft. That pushes Kotaro's buttons. He can't stand people who hate on Yumi Miya. Then another punk mocks Suo, saying he's so plain he needs accessories to stand out. But with his hands posed like an anime girl, Suo just finds it ridiculously cute. Yukari steps in and tells everyone to calm down a bit. Then he tells Tomeyama that if he really wants a proper duel, they should do it another time. It's already getting dark. If they fight now, they won't fully enjoy beating up Furin's students. Sakura jumps in and says the only face getting smashed will be Tomeyama's. Yumi, sensing serious tension, suggests turning this into a team battle. They could have a series of one-on-one fights. Yumi versus Tomeyama, Toji versus Sakura, Hotaru versus Yukari, and Suo versus Kaname. Yumi doesn't agree. He just wants a simple duel between the two of them. But now even Tomeyama thinks a full-on team match sounds way more fun. Sakura and the others agree, but just when it seems everything's settled, another Lion's Head guy shows up wanting in. He's got a score to settle with Hitagi. Irad's ready to fight too, so he joins the tournament as well. With everything set, Tomeyama declares that the fate of Lion's Head is on the line, so they'd better give it their all and have fun. Later, the group heads to a cafe to eat and relax. Nier is panicking, convinced they're in deep trouble. Sakura's getting tired of Nier's complaints. He's the one who started this whole mess. Tachibana brings food and tells him there's no point stressing, it won't change anything. But Nier's got a point. If something terrible happens and Yumi loses, Furin might fall apart. Tachibana stands firm, saying worrying won't fix a thing, and they should know Furin's guys aren't weak enough to lose to Lion's Head that easily. Sakura devours the food like a beast, and when he's done, he asks if he can head out for the day. Nier's jaw drops at how fast he finished, but they still have to wait for Yumi Miya and Irad, who stayed behind to convince the other Furin students not to make things worse. Sakura gets it, but he doesn't understand why they had to meet here of all places. Suo explains that this cafe is like a chill-out spot for Furin, a place where they gather before big battles. And right when he says that, Yumi kicks the door open and starts drooling over Tachibana. Sakura thinks that means she's his girlfriend, but both deny it. Yumi says Tachibana is his beloved little sister. But she denies that too, leaving Sakura completely confused about their relationship. Tachibana, a little embarrassed, explains that she and Yumi Miya grew up in the same orphanage. Yumi just decided one day that she was his sister, no questions asked. Sakura doesn't think that's too weird, but he is a bit shocked to learn she's the little sister in that relationship. She says she's only 16, but he thought she was at least 20, since she acts way too mature for her age. As he says that, Hotaru suddenly throws a chair at him, pushing Sakura past his limit. But what really terrifies him is the way Yumi is staring at him, like he's about to make Sakura seriously regret his words. He tries to laugh it off, but Hiraishin warns Sakura he'd better never let Yumi find out that Tachibana was in danger, or things will get ugly. Later, Yumi is scarfing down his food, but he seems lost in thought. He's been thinking about the former leader of Lion's Head, and that makes Sakura wonder, was Lion's Head always like this? Back in the day, those guys believed in pure strength. They had a bunch of muscle heads on their team, but they would never stoop so low as to chase and beat up a middle schooler. Furin even had a direct fight with the old Lion's Head once. But it was always fair and satisfying for everyone involved. Ever since Tomeyama took over though, things went downhill fast. The guy's been picking fights everywhere, and it hasn't been the same since. Yumi is convinced that Tomeyama is the one to blame, even if he doesn't have all the details. But if they fight tomorrow, they'll know for sure, because sometimes punches are the only language guys like that understand. As the cafe closes, Tachibana wraps things up, and everyone's about to leave. Before heading out, Sasaki takes a moment to formally thank Sakura for stepping in and saving him when he was in danger. And of course, Sakura gets all shy again, like a timid little puppy. The next morning, they all arrive at the bridge and step into Lion's Head territory for the tournament. Tomeyama and the rest of the Lion's Head crew are already there. Ready to begin, Tomeyama is hyped, leading the charge, and the Furin team follows behind him. On the way in, Sakura notices the area is full of bars. Nier explains that it gets packed at night, but it's also dangerous. Sakura now realizes why Inari is here. He says he's not here for a one-on-one fight. But because he's part of Furim, even if he can't protect others like the rest of them, at least he wants to protect himself. Then he asks if he can learn just by watching. Sakura gets mad and tells him to do whatever he wants. But Suo notices that Sakura is secretly flattered. Mirage gets all fired up and says he hopes they show some courage in the fight. A friend tells him to chill a bit, saying the rookie has real potential. Tomiyama leads them deeper into the area, and a guy named Jimmy formally welcomes them to Orion the Lion's Head's secret hideout. Nier checks his notebook and explains that Orion used to be a movie theater before it went out of business. Now, they call it Orion the Cage. Everyone steps into the theater, and the Lion's Head crowd goes absolutely wild, announcing the fighters entering the arena like it's a gladiator match. The crowd is unhinged. Nier is completely terrified. Now he gets why they call this place a cage. It's a literal den of wild beasts, and he starts wondering if they'll even make it home alive. Sakura sees this and reminds Nier that he's here to learn. He tells him to keep his eyes forward, and Nier tries to refocus. Tomiyama announces that it's time to begin, and Yumi comments that he's turned the whole thing into a spectacle. A friend reminds the team that while it's a big event, the only fight that really matters is the one-on-one between Yumi and Tomiyama. Win or lose, the rest of the matches don't mean much, so they should relax when they step onto the stage. Sakura immediately rejects that and says he has no intention of losing, no matter what. The others agree. Yumi is excited to see how dependable they've become. Tomiyama wants to fight Yumi first, but there's no way the captain is going in right away. A blonde guy wants to go first. He's been glaring at Kotaro the whole time. Everyone's fine with it, so they head to the stage. Sakura reminds Hotaru he still has unfinished business. But if Hotaru loses to guys like these, Sakura won't bother fighting him again. As usual, Hotaru says nothing and walks to the stage. The blonde guy's name is Yukinari. Nier checks his notebook. Yukinari is known as a heavy hitter who's broken ribs with just one punch. Suo tells them not to worry. Hotaru's basically the same, but one of the Lion's Head guys surprises everyone by saying they're not on the same level at all. On stage, Yukinari gets irritated by Hotaru's glare. He uses a dirty trick, pretending something happened to a friend, and when Kotaro looks away, he lands a punch and calls him an idiot for falling for it. Sakura's not worried. He knows Hotaru is just storing up his anger. Sure enough, he unleashes it and destroys Yukinari. He calls him an idiot for being disrespectful when talking about their friend. Yukinari is completely knocked out, but Sakura is just disappointed in how weak he was. The Lion's Head guys can't believe how easily he went down. They start wondering who this rookie from Furin is. Nier points out that Hotaru only needed one punch. The Lion's Head guys are getting nervous. Tomiyama, on the other hand, thinks it's awesome how tough Hotaru is. The Furin team notices how focused Kagami is now. Tomiyama says he wants to fight Kotaro, but Kagami tells him to calm down and wait his turn. Nier is shocked by their reaction. They don't care about the guy who lost. They're praising the opponent instead. Nier is now certain. There's definitely something weird about these two. Yumi comments that Kotaro has always been tough as nails, so it's no surprise a punch to the face doesn't faze him. Nier is still stunned, but Sakura isn't. He's already fought Hotaru. The others are excited. Maybe this means Sakura finally acknowledges Kotaro's strength. But Sakura is too embarrassed to admit it. As they talk, Yumi keeps an eye on Lion's Head's leaders. Tomiyama wonders how Takami would fare against Hotaru in a real match. Yumi watches closely. Takami is so focused he doesn't even respond to Tomiyama. His seriousness gets Tomiyama even more hyped for the upcoming matches. He tells his crew to clear the stage. The guys are tired of dragging Yukinari around, so they just toss him off the platform. They mock Yukinari for being so weak and even kick his unconscious body. Nier is horrified, but Sakura tells them to stop talking. He doesn't want to hear a single word from them again. He's disgusted by cowards who talk about worshipping strength. Suo steps in and says kids like them won't get it until they're defeated. The guys get angry, thinking they're looking for a fight, but that rage turns into pure fear when Tomiyama steps in, completely serious. He tells them to back off, because they're not his opponents. Sakura is pumped to be the next one up, but Suo declares it's his turn to fight the quiet guy. Suo points out that his opponent looks super stressed, so maybe they should work it out with some exercise. The guy's name is Kazuma, and the entire Lion's Head crew is cheering for him as Suo gets ready. Suo says he used to think Sakura was dumb for aiming for the top, which gets Sakura heated, but Suo explains he was wrong. He thought Sakura's words were empty, but now he knows Sakura has real guts, and Suo thinks that's awesome. He wants to do his best to keep up. Sakura never knows what to say in moments like this, so he just tells Suo to hurry up and get on stage. Nier is flipping through his info book, looking for data on Kazuma, but Sakura's more curious about Suo. Nier explains Suo was already known for being strong in middle school. Sakura can tell just by looking at him, but unfortunately, Nier doesn't have more info. Irad says he's also heard a lot about Suo, but he doesn't have any details either. Same goes for Yumi, though he could tell right away that Suo's a good guy. Up on stage, Kazuma is fuming after seeing Yukinari get knocked out. Suo points out that this isn't how Lion's Head should treat their own like trash. Kazuma reveals he grew up with Yukinari. They've always had each other's backs. Suo says he's just whining because he lost, which sounds pretty childish. He mocks him like he's a little kid. And Sakura notices Suo doesn't look very gentlemanly right now. Suo's taunts make Kazuma charge, but everyone's shocked when Suo dodges effortlessly. The whole crowd watches as Suo keeps poking fun at him, telling him to start acting like an adult already. Kazuma is completely spooked. He can't figure out how Suo got behind him so fast. He tries attacking faster, but Suo throws him to the ground. Every punch misses. Kazuma gets more and more frustrated as Suo keeps teasing, treating the fight like a game. Nier is impressed. Suo makes it look like Kazuma's just stumbling around on his own. The crowd starts booing Kazuma, yelling at him to stop making it so easy. Yumi thinks to himself, they have no idea what it's like to have every move effortlessly countered. He wishes they had to fight Suo themselves. Yumi realizes Suo isn't your average gentleman. Sakura adds that Suo doesn't have a shred of mercy. He's relentlessly picking apart a weaker opponent, turning him into a complete joke. It becomes clear just how massive the skill gap is. Sakura says if he were Kazuma, he'd want to disappear, though of course, he'd never be in that situation. Irad is surprised to see Suo trying to prove something in this fight. Yumi thinks he's been inspired by someone. Nier sees it too. Suo wants to catch up to Sakura. The fight grabs Sakura's full attention, and he starts wondering how to get Suo to go all out against him. The match continues, but it's obvious. Suo is just toying with Kazuma. He barely moves while dodging every attack and knocks Kazuma down again. The crowd turns on Kazuma, and he's horrified to see that Tanya fell asleep during his match. Even worse, Hitagi isn't even watching, which reminds him of that weakling under the bridge. Kazuma starts panicking. His heart is racing, and Suo can tell. He explains, Kazuma's finally starting to understand what it takes to be a real adult. Kazuma snaps and goes in swinging, but Suo stops him cold. Kazuma's stunned when Suo says he already knew what he was thinking. It turns out Kazuma was picturing himself becoming the kind of person he used to mock, and that's a good thing. Suo says imagination is the first step toward growing up. Kazuma is terrified, but Suo calmly tells him he's ready to move to the next stage. Suo continues his lesson, telling Kazuma he still needs one more thing to turn imagination into reality. Suo moves in to finish the fight, and Kazuma begs him to stop. At that moment, Kagami steps in and tells Suo to end it. Kazuma doesn't get why. Kagami says Kazuma's already been humiliated enough, but then corrects himself. He says Kazuma can't be humiliated anymore because he's no longer part of Lion's Head. That was Kazuma's worst nightmare. His imagination just became reality. Suo's final lesson. Being an adult means being able to feel for others, and that takes both imagination and experience. Suo is genuinely happy for Kazuma. At least he learned something today. As he walks away, the Lion's Head crowd is dead silent. They've just witnessed a total dismantling, and to top it off, they realize Suo is just a first year at Furim. Now they understand messing with Furim would be a huge mistake. A friend praises Suo for the impressive win, saying he's incredibly strong, but Suo doesn't see himself that way. Nier, on the other hand, is completely blown away. He's never seen anyone move like Suo. He asks if it's kung fu or some kind of martial art, but Suo doesn't know. His teacher was self-taught and just mixed together a bunch of styles. Putting that aside, Irad points out how unexpected it was to see Suo get that emotional during the fight. Suo's a little embarrassed he humiliated Kazuma like that, but he did it for Sakura. Sakura doesn't want to take the blame for Suo's actions, but he did tell him to take the fight seriously if they ever fought. Nier is tired of Sakura always wanting to fight everyone. Suo says he doesn't really want to fight Sakura anyway, because he knows Sakura would be a total pain in a real fight. Hearing that, Sakura loses it and nearly jumps at Suo. Nier has to hold him back with all his strength. Yumi's just happy they're all getting along. Well, as much as they ever will. Then they notice Kazuma dragging Yukinari's unconscious body across the ground, looking like a complete mess. When Yukinari finally wakes up, he sees the state Kazuma is in and asks if he lost too. Kazuma can only manage one word. It's over. Because now that both of them lost in front of all of Lion's Head, they're going to be everyone's punching bags from here on out. Tomiyama is still fired up as always, and now he wants to fight Suo too. But Kagami wants to keep things organized, so he asks who's up next. Sakuya finally feels like it's his time to shine. He stands up and turns toward Takami to head to the stage, but another guy suddenly stands and points directly at Irad. He wants to fight him next. Irad still has unfinished business with Saku, so he apologizes to Sakuya and says he needs to take this fight. Sakuya's not having it. Since the other first years already got their chance, there's no reason to skip his turn. Irad tells him he should fight Gumi instead, but Gumi doesn't look ready to go, so Sakuya has to wait a little longer. Since Kagami is the second in command at Lion's Head, he's usually the one who handles serious matchups, but that doesn't mean he doubts Sakuya's ability to win. The compliment instantly cools Sakuya's anger toward Hitagi. But he's still annoyed at the other guy for cutting the line to challenge Irad. Canary thinks the guy might look familiar, but no one knows for sure, since Irad never talks much about his past. As Saku heads toward the stage, Tomeyama wishes him good luck, but Kagami has to be all smug and asks if something happened between him and Irad, since Saku usually isn't the type to start fights. Saku just ignores him and keeps walking. When they face off, Irad opens by saying Saku has grown since the last time they met, but it's a shame he's representing Lion's Head now, because at this point, this fight is unavoidable. Saku stays completely silent. Tomeyama is already bored of the talking and yells for them to just get started. Irad raises his hands and Saku charges in, throwing a flurry of punches and kicks, but Irad blocks everything like a pro. Saku keeps pressing forward with his attacks, but by the end of the sequence, Irad hasn't taken a single hit. Saku backs off for a moment and tells Mirage not to underestimate him like he used to. The old Saku is gone. And he's about to prove it. He launches a front kick, and Irad meets it head-on. But neither of them is making any real progress. Still, no solid blows landed. Then, mid-kick, Saku grabs his own leg and redirects it, almost landing a shot to Irad's face. Irad is stunned. Canary is freaking out because Irad is stuck on defense, and Lion's Head is going wild, cheering for Saku to take him down. Even Kagami is impressed by Saku's incredible skill, but Tomeyama doesn't find it surprising. He personally picked Saku as one of his top 5 fighters, and while he doesn't fully understand Saku as a person, he knows he fought harder than anyone to earn his place. He nearly burned himself out when he joined Lion's Head. Back on stage, Saku is still dodging Irad's attacks, but he takes a jab at Irad's fighting style, saying he relies on brute strength with no technique. Saku says Irad hasn't changed a bit, but Irad can see that Saku has, especially since he's suddenly so talkative. Kagami remembers Saku never spoke much during training, but bringing up the past just ticks Saku off. He charges in again, this time with explosive speed, and lands a clean kick to Irad's face, knocking him down. Everyone is stunned. Irad got dropped so easily. Saku stands over him, wondering when Irad got so weak. He blames it on Irad hanging around with the Furim clowns. Sakuya starts getting mad, not at Saku, but at Irad, for going down like that. Suo thinks it's hilarious, especially because it looks like Saku is starting to show real care for his team. Sakuya gets flustered by Suo's comment and says he was just mad that Saku insulted them. Yumi steps in to calm everyone down, saying it's not over yet. Then he turns to Saku and reminds him Irad is one of the 4 kings of Furim. Specifically, he's the one who defeated one of the previous kings. He asks if Saku knows what that makes him. Saku doesn't get the meaning of that dumb question, but then a hand lands on his shoulder, and he's shocked to see Irad standing again, ready to go. It's been a while since he took a kick like that. He really felt it, but he knows it made him look totally weak. He congratulates Saku for how much stronger he's gotten. He's like a completely new person. But as one of the kings of Furin, he has to show some real power now. He takes his stomach meds and gets ready for round 2. We flash back to middle school. Saku was going through serious bullying. He was just trying to do well in school, but jealous punks couldn't stand to see him shine. They came at him hard. Then Irad showed up like a hero. Fast forward to the current fight. It's a brutal brawl. Both sides are swinging non-stop, landing and dodging hits. The crowd is frozen in shock. Even Sakuya can't believe how insanely strong Irad is. Suo lets him know Irad had to be a beast to earn his spot as one of Furin's kings. The whole city knows he's a force to be reckoned with. Suo is convinced Irad stepped it up because Saku challenged him seriously. The fight rages on. It looks even at first, but Irad starts to take control. He literally knocks the focus out of Saku's eyes with an incredible kick. Saku is confused. How is Irad still this strong, even after all the training Saku went through to surpass him? Especially when Irad's been living a relaxed life with friends. We cut back to Saku's elementary school days, right after Irad beat down the bullies. Saku couldn't understand why Irad helped him. Irad didn't think he needed a big reason. He just wanted to help someone being attacked. But he did tell Saku one thing clearly. He had to learn to protect himself because that's the only way to deal with bullies like that. He reached out to help Saku up, but instead of taking his hand, Sakura grabbed his sleeve and begged Irad, "Teach me how to fight!" Irad agrees, and from that day on, Sakura trained intensely with him, developing deep respect. It's not like Irad was trying to gather followers or anything, but people naturally admired him for his raw strength. And Sakura was proud to be one of them. On the day Irad graduated from middle school, Sakura teased him non-stop for joining Furim. He was convinced Irad would be in a whole different league there, but the pressure was overwhelming. So Irad told Sakura directly not to follow him. He knew that once he stepped into Furim, he'd be under someone else's command, and he couldn't handle the weight of Sakura's expectations. He wanted Sakura to find his own true purpose instead of just being a fan. Sakura couldn't understand what had just happened. His idol basically pushed him away, so he took it out on a local gang, defeating them by himself. While standing among their bodies, Kagami and Tobirama showed up. They were seriously impressed by his skills and offered him a spot on their team. Sakura asked if they had strong fighters. Kagami replied, "Of course, strength is everything to us. The stronger you are, the higher you rise." But Sakura didn't care about any hierarchy. He just wanted to fight strong people, get stronger, and make Irad regret leaving him behind. That's why he refuses to lose to Irad in this fight. Unlike Irad, he hasn't wasted time making friends. He's been training hard just to surpass him. He rushes in from below, trying to catch Irad off guard. Irad throws a counterpunch, but Sakura flips right over him in an incredible move and winds up to strike. But Irad doesn't fall for it. He lands a solid kick to Sakura's face, leaving him shaky. Still, Sakura won't back down. He refuses to lose to someone who's satisfied with anything less than the top. He throws another punch. But this time, Irad catches it and apologizes for not being able to live up to Sakura's expectations. Then Irad delivers a powerful punch that leaves Sakura stunned, forcing him to reflect on why he was so angry in the first place. He realizes Irad wasn't pushing him away to be mean. He was trying to protect him, to help him find a purpose of his own. But Sakura was too selfish to listen. He didn't care about being the leader or anything like that. All he wanted was for Irad to say, "Come with me." Sakura collapses on the floor, making Irad the clear winner. Everyone's still stunned by the intense match they just witnessed. Kagami immediately stands and tells someone to drag Sakura off the stage. But after what they just saw, no one has the heart to treat him disrespectfully. So Hirai volunteers to carry him off, gently lifting him and placing him on the ground. Kagami thanks Irad for the fight, but says he didn't need to be so soft with the body of a loser. He tries to remove Sakura's lion's head jacket, but Irad stops his hand. He says, "Maybe wait until after your match. You never know what could happen." Before leaving, he offers Kagami one last piece of advice. Leading your team the way you are now, it won't make them stronger. He heads back to his seat and Yumi congratulates him on the win. But Irad is surprised. Yumi isn't asking about Sakura or their relationship. Yumi knows Irad probably doesn't want to talk about it yet, so he doesn't push. He just says, "You can tell me the full story when you're ready. For now, let's just enjoy the next fight." We cut to Kagami spacing out, lost in thought. Tomeyama snaps him back to reality, reminding him that it's his turn. Kagami calls out to Sakura to get ready. The whole group lights up when Sakura says he already is. The energy gets intense. SUO notes that things are heating up more than ever. Everyone sends their own kind of good vibes to Sakura, and a friend tells him to have a deep conversation. Sakura remembers fighting is a kind of conversation. But honestly, he's not even sure what that means. Whatever. He told the guy to trust him completely. Now all Sakura wants is to end the match quickly, but Kagami wants to enjoy the moment, savor it. They both get into position, and the crowd explodes in anticipation. Sakura tries to land the first hit, but Kagami immediately knocks him down. Kagami nearly follows up with a devastating punch, but Sakura narrowly escapes. The crowd cheers even louder. Sakura tries to shake off the shock of what just happened. Irad reflects on how much Sakura has shown off his skills lately, but Kagami is the one who keeps all those wild Lion's Head members in line. And he does it because he's that strong. Sakura comments that Kagami's moving too fast for someone who wants to take his time, but Kagami doesn't consider this fast at all. Takami decides he'll keep this pace until Sakura can catch up, and Sakura's more than willing to try. They trade blows, and everyone is amazed at Kagami's insane speed. They start wondering, does Sakura have more than just dodging skills? Yumi explains that Kagami and Tomeyama have always been the top dogs at Lion's Head, which means Kagami is playing in a whole different league, and Sakura's feeling that more than anyone right now. Just then, Nikki cheers as Sakura lands a clean hit. Takami is impressed. Sakura's already catching up, but he's still not fast enough. Kagami knocks him down and nearly crushes his skull. Kagami remembers when Sakura insulted him in the tunnel, calling him pathetic. That really got under his skin. Sakura counters with a slick low blow, but Kagami doesn't like that one bit. He slams Sakura's face into the ground. The crowd goes wild. Nier is horrified. Disappointed to see Sakura knocked out so easily, he tells him, "You're way weaker than I ever expected." Sakura tries to act cocky, but Kagami shuts him down, saying only people with real power have the right to act that way. Kagami assumes Sakura is just putting on a show because he hangs out with a strong team, but when he's alone, he has no voice. Hearing that sets Sakura off, and he lunges at Kagami. Kagami tells him he's still talking, but Sakura breaks free and keeps fighting. Sakura agrees, freedom is only for those with power. Without it, you can't be true to yourself. When Sakura squares up, everyone's stunned as he lands a solid kick. Kagami seems like the type of person Sakura hates most, so Sakura decides he absolutely cannot lose to him. Now Sakura is taking control of the fight, and the entire crowd falls silent, witnessing his sudden transformation. Neri always knew Sakura had strength, but even he didn't expect this. Sakura's burning with anger, telling Kagami that if he loses to him, then everything Kagami stands for is wrong. Lion's Head's obsession with power would mean nothing. Sakura continues pounding Kagami with attacks and ends with a massive kick straight to his face, leaving everyone speechless. Kagami tells Sakura not to get cocky and fires back with a crushing kick, launching him. Kagami explains their devotion to power is no joke. The crowd roars as he declares that Lion's Head members always push to rise higher. He steps on Sakura's head and says guys from Lion's Head are way stronger than wannabe heroes like the boring group. The crowd celebrates, thinking Sakura is done, but they quickly realize the fight isn't over. Sakura's still standing. He says Lion's Head guys aren't about real strength. He suggests they rename themselves Policy Club, because it fits better with their style beating up people who are already down. He even calls out how they go after middle school kids just to beat them up. Sakura says there's no way he's losing to people like that. But Kagami's had enough. He stomps on Sakura's head again. Miri can't even watch, but then he's shocked when the crowd goes quiet, because this time Kagami doesn't stomp Sakura's head. Kagami doesn't understand what Sakura is saying, so he backs off from the fight. For a moment, he thought Furim invaded their turf for no reason, so he demands Kanami and Arima explain. They admit they were messing with the middle school kid and try to shift the blame to someone else. But Kagami's not buying it. He beats them down in front of everyone. He rips their Lion's Head jackets off their motionless bodies. Tama just tells him to stop stalling and get back to the fight. Kagami apologizes to Sakura for making him wait and declares it's time to continue. Flashback to a festival. A young Kagami is surrounded by a group of Lion's Head members, but he takes them all down. He's ready for more. Then Tomiyama shows up, shocked that Kagami beat them all alone. But he can already tell Kagami has incredible strength, so he invites him to join. Kagami is confused at first, so Tome explains he just joined too, but promises Kagami will enjoy being part of Lion's Head. Kagami hesitates, but eventually, they grow close. One day, Tomiyama asks him if he knows what devotion to power means. It's a promise you make to stay true to yourself, never backing down for anyone. Power is what you use to set yourself free. Rumors begin to spread about how Kagami and Tomiyama are unbeatable as a duo. They even invade other gangs' turf alone and come out on top. After one of these fights, they return, and the others can't believe they went through all that just to get revenge for one of their own. Tomiyama shrugs it off. He says he just wants to be the freest guy around. Nobody really gets what he means, so he explains. They were taught that power is the ticket to freedom. The strongest guy is also the freest. Kagami and Tomiyama are in a race to see who can become the freest, and they get the rest of the team fired up to join in. Kagami thinks about how Tomiyama is incredibly strong and having more fun than anyone. To Kagami, Tomiyama is the perfect example of someone devoted to the cause, a leader who embodies what Lion's Head stands for. Kagami never planned to compete with him. He's just not good at social stuff. But with Tomiyama, he feels like he belongs. It's fun, and he feels truly free. Kagami believed making Tomiyama the leader would bring even more freedom to the team, but now he realizes he was wrong. After Tomiyama took over as head of Lion's Head, he said the leader has to be the strongest and the freest. Kagami agreed, but Tomiyama seemed lost. He realized it wasn't fun anymore, so he decided the only way to fix it was to make sure everyone in Lion's Head became as strong as he was. Kagami was excited. He thought Tomiyama wanted to train everyone. Then one day, a few members showed up with a teammate who had been beaten up by the boys' gang. Everyone expected Tomiyama to go get revenge, but they were horrified when he attacked their own injured teammate. Tomiyama was disappointed the guy came back after being crushed. He said it wouldn't make him stronger. It just proved he'd never be free. And that's not fun. That's when Tomiyama declared that weak guys weren't welcome in Lion's Head. He looked to Kagami for agreement, but Kagami was still in shock. Kagami knew this wouldn't make anyone stronger, but Tomiyama reminded him, he's the leader, he's the strongest and the freest. So what he says goes. Tomeyama told Kagami that if he didn't understand that, he should leave. Kagami was stunned, but agreed to follow what Tomeyama said. He promised to spread his beliefs and even agreed to beat up anyone who went against them. But Kagami had one request. He wanted Tomeyama to keep smiling for everyone. That was the day Kagami decided he'd get dirty and carry the weight, because Tomeyama was like the sun, and the sun should be loved by everyone, even if it meant following him with power to be free. Kagami swore he'd protect that version of Lion's Head until the sun could shine again. Back in the present, he's still in the fight, but everyone is shocked as Sakura begins taking control. Sakura's getting frustrated. He just can't believe Kagami's being serious. He points out that Kagami doesn't even seem like he wants to punch or dodge. Sakura's wondering what the hell Kagami's trying to do, and honestly, Kagami's wondering the same exact thing. Sakura's dodging some of Kagami's attacks, but he can tell something's off. There's confusion in Kagami's movements. Sakura thought they chose this fight because they had everything figured out, but Kagami clearly doesn't. What answers? Sakura asks him directly. Then he asks why Kagami even punched those guys. He thought anyone with power could do whatever they wanted in Lion's Head, but he's stunned when Kagami explains that scumbags aren't welcome in their territory. Turns out Kagami was trying to clean up the team, get rid of all the bad apples. They found a loophole at the bridge, and fighting with Furim was because of Tomeyama's obsession. Kagami thought it might spark some change, but all it did was break everyone. Still, Kagami's not backing down. He made the wrong call that rainy day, and now he's sticking to this rough path. Sakura's not having it. He asks what Kagami really wants, and is shocked when Kagami says he wants to go to the mountains. Sakura doesn't care about any of that. He says flat out that Kagami's one of the scumbags he's trying to get rid of. The stuff Kagami's been doing, total scumbag behavior, and Sakura finds it super lame. He wants Kagami to realize that himself, so he's going to beat it into him, literally. Once he wins, Sakura is sure Kagami will stop being such a loser and finally become the kind of guy Sakura actually wants to fight. Kagami thinks Sakura's being selfish, but Sakura doesn't care. That's what happens when you force your will in a fight. As he launches his attack, Sakura declares, "No matter how strong my opponent is, even if they saved my life, I never look away. I never change who I am." That sparks another memory in Kagami. He remembers how shocked he was when Tobirama told him he could just leave Lion's Head if he didn't agree with their ideals. Kagami took on all the dirty work so Tomeyama could keep smiling with everyone. Sakura's punch lands, and so do his words. Kagami starts laughing and praises Sakura for getting to him. He punches Sakura back, and Sakura's thrilled, realizing Kagami is finally serious. Sakura calls him Shag, but Kagami shuts that down. He kicks off his sandals, gets ready for a real fight, and demands to be called by his real name. Kagami's finally ready to fight. He calls Sakura by name and says it's time. The two of them go all out, trading fierce blows back and forth. The crowd falls dead silent, watching this no-holds-barred brawl unfold. There's no holding back. But what really stuns everyone is that both guys are laughing as they're beating the crap out of each other. Things get brutal, but they're loving every second of it. Suo watches in awe. He had no idea Sakura was this good at fighting. Neri doesn't quite get why, but he's genuinely moved. Something about the fight is stirring his heart. Even Irad and Omi are impressed by Sakura. Tomeyama, though, just silently observes. Sakura keeps fighting, but something's messing with his head. He's supposed to be fighting some guy who does lame stuff, so why does it feel right to fight Kagami? Sakura is also surprised no one's ever called him by name during a fight before. Kagami's thinking too. He sees how much fun Sakura's having, and it's not just that. Sakura's clearly getting better with every move. Kagami can't hide it. He's loving this too. He tells Sakura to bring it on, and they both charge at each other again. The fight reaches its peak as they both land a kick to the face at the exact same time and collapse. Neri is horrified, but the two fighters just keep laughing. Kagami never knew fighting could be this enjoyable, and Sakura feels the same. They've gone at it long enough, so they decide to wrap it up. They rush each other one last time, gearing up for their most powerful punches. But then Kagami starts thinking about what Sakura said, that he'd never change who he is for anyone. That hits hard. Kagami realizes he should have pushed back against what Tomeyama told him that day. Instead, he looked the other way and wasn't true to himself. He couldn't break past his own identity. But he sees that potential in Sakura. Sakura is going to get even stronger because he's not afraid to be himself, no matter who he's up against. Kagami just hopes he never loses that, so he holds back his punch and silently thanks Sakura for helping him see. Sakura's punch lands. Kagami says he can't move anymore and forfeits. The crowd is stunned. They've never heard Kagami say something like that. The guy who laughs even in the most dangerous situations. Even the Furin guys are speechless. But Sakura's mad. He doesn't get why Kagami would just give up like that. He's not happy with how the fight ended and demands to know why Kagami chose to lose on purpose. Sakura is interrupted by Tobirama, who's fired up. He says he wants to fight Sakura someday. But for now, it's Tomeyama's turn to fight Omi. Kagami tries to convince Tobirama to call the whole match off. He's realized he was wrong. But Tomeyama's way too hyped to listen. Kagami keeps insisting, but things get serious when Tobirama suddenly punches him, telling him to shut up. Tomeyama declares that Kagami lost, so he has no right to speak. That really ticks off Sakura. He rushes to punch Tomeyama, but suddenly, Omi steps in and stops him. Omi says it's time to switch places, but Sakura's so mad he can't calm down. The kid points out that Sakura must have had a deep conversation, and that's why he's defending Kagami. And that proves something. Kagami's surprised when Omi asks if he can leave the rest to him. Kagami gives him the go-ahead, so he leaves the stage, and Sakura does too. Still grumpy as always, Sakura tells Omi straight up that if he loses to Tomeyama, he's getting punched too. As he walks off stage, Sakura can't figure out why he's so mad about that whole fight. He thinks about how the kids seemed all excited, like they really did have some deep conversation. But Sakura still doesn't get it. He didn't hear a single word from the guy's fists. Neri catches Sakura before he collapses, and the crew welcomes him back. Irad can tell Sakura's not happy with how the fight ended, but explains that it was just Kagami's way of settling things. And besides, Hiragi praises Sakura for doing great out there, though Sakura still doesn't really know how to take a compliment. Tobirama's super hyped about finally getting to fight Umemiya, but Umemiya wants to ask him something first. He asks if Tomeyama felt anything watching Kagami and Sakura go at it. Tomeyama is totally clueless, so Umemiya says that's a real shame. Tomeyama doesn't even know why it's a shame, and honestly, he doesn't care. All he knows is, it's not fair. He watches how those two fight and defend each other, how strong they are, and realizes they're nothing like Lion's Head. Tomeyama sees now his team is too weak. And maybe that's why he can't feel free. The whole crowd is shocked to hear Tomeyama talk like that. They can't believe that's how he really feels about them. Tomeyama makes it clear, he only cares about power because it makes him feel good. If he wins, then everything will be his. He thinks Umemiya's always having fun because he's stronger, more free than anyone else at Furin. If he can prove he's stronger than Umemiya, then Tomeyama's sure he'll finally be free and have more fun than anyone else. He's literally jumping with joy at the thought of ending his boring days. Tomeyama turns to Umemiya and demands he hand over Furin. He lunges at Umemiya, throwing a flurry of punches. Umemiya shakes him off. But Tomeyama keeps charging. The Furin crew is stunned. They've never seen such reckless moves in a fight. They start thinking maybe Tomeyama really is a natural-born monster. Irad finally understands why he's the youngest leader in Lion's Head history. Sakura's still fuming, but realizes he would have been in trouble if Umemiya hadn't stopped his punch earlier. Still, that's not the only thing bothering him. He knows Kagami held back at the end, and that's the only reason he won. Sakura hates that, and now more than ever, he's determined to get even stronger. Tomeyama keeps up his wild fighting style, trying to keep Umemiya off balance, but he stops for a second when Umemiya speaks up. Umemiya tells him he's always going to struggle as long as he keeps talking about what he doesn't have and trying to take from others. But Tomeyama is already sick of Umemiya's speeches. He thinks it's all nonsense, so he just launches another attack. Umemiya throws a punch so fierce, Tomeyama's forced to retreat. Umemiya sighs. Disappointed, Tomeyama still doesn't get it, and then Tomeyama is shocked. His nose starts bleeding, even though Umemiya didn't land a clean hit. Umemiya says it straight, if someone doesn't understand where he's coming from, then he's 100% sure he won't lose. As the fight heats up, Tomeyama tries to outmaneuver Umemiya again. He slides between Umemiya's legs, gets behind him, grabs his jacket, and slams his foot into his back. But, even though it should have knocked him out, Umemiya doesn't even flinch. He just turns around and throws another devastating punch. Tomeyama dodges again, but now he's confused. Why aren't any of his hits doing damage? He knows he's landing solid blows, but Umemiya's health bar isn't even budging. Umemiya explains, Tomeyama's punches feel weak because he's fighting alone. There's no one backing him up. Tomeyama doesn't understand what friendship has to do with any of this. Still, even if his punches seem light, he keeps throwing them, trying to bring Umemiya down. Tomeyama charges again, trying to break through Umemiya's defense. When he finally sees an opening, he lands a powerful uppercut, but Umemiya just shrugs it off, says it's nothing, and knocks him down. The crowd is dead silent, watching Tomeyama struggle to get back up. When he finally stands, he goes wild, throwing desperate punches, desperate to prove he's the strongest. Umemiya dodges the first punch and asks, "What does being free mean to you?" Still throwing punches, Tomiyama says, freedom means having fun. It means fighting strong opponents just like this. But Umemiya finds it strange. If that's what fun is, then why doesn't Tomiyama look like he's enjoying any of it? Tomiyama doesn't even know what he really wants. That's why he's so unhappy, why he's trying to steal Furin. And that's why Umemiya's giving him a lesson. Not as hard as the one his team should give him for being such a lousy leader. But no matter what his reasons are, Tomiyama ended up at the top. And now, Umemiya's gonna show him what a real leader looks like. With everyone watching, Umemiya keeps pummeling Tomiyama, not giving him a chance to fight back. He talks about how happy he is to be part of Furin Academy and to have Umemiya leading them on that stage. Tomiyama still doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what Umemiya means when he says he should treat his crew better. There was a time when everyone had fun, but that was a long time ago. And now he doesn't get why things have to change. There's so much Tomiyama doesn't understand, and he's tired of people pointing that out. So he gives up. He says he's done trying to steal Umemiya's team. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need anything. To be honest, Tomiyama's world has been dull and gray for a long time. He barely remembers when it started. To him, the world is cold and dry, and nothing he does can change that. Now he's just wondering what it would take to bring back some color. But honestly, he doesn't care anymore. He's accepted that his heart is a lifeless desert. Nothing's going to change that, so he doesn't need anything else. Maybe he's gone a little crazy, and Umemiya notices the shift in his mindset. So when Tomiyama charged at him, Umemiya just let himself get hit. Even when he was knocked to the ground, he didn't fight back, and that absolutely ticked Sakura off. Sakura, jumping with rage, yelled that he wasn't planning on losing, so why was he putting on this weak little act? But Irad told Sakura to shut it, and just let Umemiya do his thing. Once Tomiyama finally got tired of punching him, Umemiya apologized for cornering him with such a hard question. But he warns, if Tomiyama keeps breaking everything around him and hurting others in his search for answers, nothing will ever change. Tomiyama doesn't want to hear any more of this, so he literally bites Umemiya's neck, drawing blood. Not sure what kind of neck workouts Umemiya does, but he doesn't even flinch. Like his windpipe being crushed doesn't bother him one bit. Instead, he calmly tells Tomiyama that the answer he's looking for was always inside him, and that actually makes Tomiyama stop biting. Then Umemiya asks him, does he remember the last time Lion's Head and Furin got into a fight? In the end, it was all just a big misunderstanding. But back then, when the fight got broken up, Umemiya clearly saw that Tomiyama was actually having fun with his team. Back then, Tomiyama's punches had real strength. He had a lot more heart too. And now Umemiya just wants him to think back to those times and figure out what he needs to change. Umemiya gets up and walks toward him. Tomiyama flinches, thinking payback is coming for all the punches he threw, but instead, he feels the warmth of Umemiya's hand. Umemiya's trying with everything he's got to help Tomiyama remember who he used to be. Because if he's gonna lead Lion's Head, he's gotta be better. To really drive the point home, Umemiya headbutts him hard enough to knock him out cold. That hit sends Tomiyama straight into a flashback, back to before he became Lion's Head's boss. He was just chilling, staring at a car, until his friends snapped him out of it, teasing him for zoning out. They were on their way to a fight, and they told him if he wanted to be the leader, he needed to get it together. Tomiyama apologized, but now he can't even remember who they were going to fight. Everyone paused for a moment, then burst out laughing. Tomiyama laughed too. Those were the good times. And Tomiyama, he really wished things could have stayed like that forever. But we all know things changed fast, and everything fell apart. Now, Tomiyama is all alone in the darkness, like he's walking on broken glass. He falls and finally realizes he must be dreaming. But even if it's a dream, it still feels nice to relive the good old days. He wakes up and sees Kagami standing there with a sad expression, and at first he doesn't get why, until he remembers he just lost to Umemiya. Tomiyama starts talking about the dream he had, how everyone was smiling and having fun. That moment lit something up inside him. Now he finally understands. The only time he really has fun is when everyone around him is having fun too. Kagami apologizes for not being there when Tomiyama needed him. They had no idea what he was going through, so they left him alone. Kagami couldn't stand seeing Tomiyama hurt others, and couldn't forgive him for destroying their shared dream. Tomiyama had no idea Kagami had a dream that everyone would love and support him. When Kagami looked into Tomiyama's eyes that day, even though he knew it was wrong, he closed his eyes and let him walk that twisted path. But after fighting Sakura and learning about never backing down, Kagami realized, as a member of Lion's Head, he should have spoken up and told him how he felt. He apologizes again for not saying anything, for letting Tomiyama deal with it all alone. Because of that, Tomiyama lost what mattered most. Tomiyama says he worked so hard to become the leader because he thought that's when the real fun would start. It was like chasing a treasure chest on top of a hill. He was excited, thinking something amazing would be waiting inside. But when he finally opened it, there was nothing. Just a big fat nothing. He didn't feel anything. There was nothing left to look forward to, and that terrified him. He felt empty inside. No matter what he did, he couldn't fill that hole. He knew something had to change, but had no idea where to begin. Over time, his world got darker and darker. Eventually, he started blaming his whole crew for the lack of fun in his life. He thought the real problem was that his team was weak, and that's why he wasn't enjoying himself. So he figured if he only let the strong join Lion's Head, they could all be free and have fun together. But now he admits he was wrong. He finally realizes he's the one who threw away all the amazing friends he had. He remembers all the laughs they shared. He always was free, but he was too blind to see it until it slipped away. Worse yet, he's the one who ruined everything with his own hands. If it weren't for Kagami, Lion's Head would probably just be a memory by now. Kagami doesn't want any credit, but Umemiya steps in and tells him not to mess with the people close to him. Tomeyama apologizes for all the pain Kagami had to endure, and thanks him for doing everything he could to keep things going with a broken leader like him in charge. He says no one can imagine how heavy that burden was. Then he keeps apologizing, tears rolling down his face. Eventually he stands up and thanks Kagami one last time for everything. But now it's time to end it and make things right. He walks over to Umemiya, who's just sitting on the edge of the stage, and takes off his jacket, leaving everyone in shock. Tomeyama lost the match fair and square, so he's stepping down as the leader of Lion's Head and passing the title to Umemiya. Just like they agreed before the duel, he asks Umemiya, please take care of everyone for him. But Umemiya never wanted to lead Lion's Head in the first place. That dumb bet was Tomeyama's idea from the start, and Umemiya never planned to take over even if he won. Besides, he doesn't want to deal with a big team. He's already fed up with all that hierarchy nonsense. And he just hates boring stuff like that. But since Tomeyama keeps pushing it, Umemiya offers an alternative. From now on, everyone's just friends. They can call today's fight a group therapy session or something. Then he turns to the crowd and thanks everyone for coming to watch the match. The crowd's totally confused, but for the first time in a long while, Tomeyama laughs for real, because Umemiya is just that funny. Now that everything's settled, Umemiya tells everyone to pack up and head home. Afterward, he asks if there are any good takeout spots nearby. When someone asks why, he casually says he wants to throw a party to celebrate the end of the tournament. So as soon as they leave the theater, everyone heads up to the rooftop, sets out some cardboard boxes, and throws a feast. Umemiya's enjoying the food so much, he starts devouring it like a wild animal, while everyone else eats at a more normal pace. Nier can't believe they still have the appetite after everything they just went through. He hasn't touched anything either, so he's glad he's not the only one without an appetite. But Suo says he's just on a diet, that's the only reason he's not eating. Meanwhile, Sakura's trying to wrap his head around how the heck Umemiya can sit there and eat so peacefully with Tomeyama after the beating he just gave him. If you can even call what Tomeyama did a fight. Sakura knows he could never forgive someone for something like that, but Umemiya doesn't seem to care at all. In fact, he's more concerned about the fact that Kagami hasn't touched his food, so he asks if everything's okay. Kagami had been lost in thought, but he puts down his plate and bows his head to apologize to everyone. He knows this whole tournament mess was his fault, from the very first fight to the breakdown of Lion's Head as a team. Tomeyama feels responsible too, so he bows and apologizes as well. Seeing them both apologize, Umemiya leaves it up to Sakura to decide whether or not to forgive Kagami and Tomeyama, since he still has his own issues with them. Kagami says he's ready to accept any punishment Sakura gives. Sakura still isn't over what Kagami did when they first met, but after their fight, he also realizes Kagami isn't totally a bad guy, so he lets it go, but tells him to make sure he becomes a better person from now on. Kagami promises, and Umemiya declares that everything is now officially settled, then goes right back to eating. He's already having a blast, so Tomeyama asks him how he manages to have so much fun while being the big shot at Furim. Umemiya says it's because he loves good food, but what really makes it fun is eating with his crew and cracking jokes. That's why he's enjoying himself now. It has nothing to do with being the leader. Tomeyama totally gets it. He remembers how much fun he used to have before becoming the boss of Lion's Head. He thought climbing the ranks would make it even better, but now he has no idea why he didn't realize he already had everything he needed back then. Umemiya tells him it's not his fault. People usually don't realize how good they have it until it's all gone. Luckily, Tomeyama figured it out before he lost everyone he cared about, and Umemiya is happy he's able to enjoy life again. Tomeyama has one last question for Umemiya. Why the heck did he choose to become the leader of Furim, knowing it wouldn't be more fun than just being a regular student? Umemiya says it's because he wanted to make sure everyone was happy and smiling, so they could all enjoy life together. He thought about what he could do to help the entire city, and in the end, he decided to become the leader. Becoming the boss was never the goal, it was just a way to do what he really wanted. Make sure everyone could always be happy here. If there were another way, Umemiya probably wouldn't have gone for the top spot, but if he hadn't, he wouldn't be here sharing food with everyone like this. Tomiyama admires Umemiya for figuring out what he wanted even before becoming the leader. But Umemiya quickly clears things up. He never became the leader. He was chosen. You can't just claim the title for yourself. It's something you earn when people around you believe in your vision and help you reach it. So no matter how tough or unfair things get, he swears he won't let them down. After eating, Umemiya says goodbye to Tomiyama and Kagami, telling them he had a great time and would be stoked if they visited Furim someday. As a parting gift, Umemiya pulls a bun out of his pocket and offers it to Tomiyama. Tomiyama happily accepts it. As Umemiya and the group leave, Tomiyama and Kagami are left alone. Tomiyama starts talking about how he knows saying sorry isn't enough to fix the mess he made, but he's not even sure how to fix things, or if he can. By now, he's terrified of losing his friends. Kagami understands where he's coming from. He's made his share of mistakes too. He knows that just apologizing isn't enough, which is why they need to face their mistakes head on. Kagami supports Tomiyama and suggests they work together to make things right, no matter how hard it is. Back at Furin territory, the little boy they rescued at the beginning of this whole mess is waiting outside Tachibana's cafe. That's when he sees the guys returning from battle. He runs toward them. He can't believe Sasaki waited there the whole time, but Sasaki reassures him, telling him there's no need to stress anymore. The job is done. Everyone heads into the cafe. Tachibana had expected to be breaking out the bandages after what she imagined was an epic brawl, but is shocked to see that everyone's already patched up, except Suo, who never let Kanuma touch him even once. Sakura, on the other hand, is clearly banged up. Tachibana welcomes them back, but Sakura can barely look her in the eye, because now he realizes she was right. She told him straight up that he couldn't become the boss all by himself. Umemiya made it because he had people backing him, but Sakura only came here to become the top dog. Now his mind's a mess. He's in the middle of an identity crisis, and honestly, he just wants to get out of there. But before Sakura can walk out the door, Umemiya grabs him. He's not letting him run away that easily. Umemiya tells Tachibana to whip up some of her special coffees because it's time for a proper celebration. Sakura starts complaining that there's nothing to celebrate in the first place, but when Umemiya has something to say, there's always a reason to throw a party. So Umemiya declares today Conversation Day in honor of Sakura. Since he had his first real talk with Tomiyama, it makes no sense to Sakura or anyone else. But that's not the only reason Umemiya wants him to stay. He has something to discuss with him. Sakura used to think being strong was enough to become a leader. Now he knows he was completely wrong. Umemiya wants to know about Sakura's first talk during a fight. Sakura doesn't really know what to say because he didn't hear anything from Togashi's fists. But Umemiya starts laughing, realizing Sakura totally misunderstood what he meant when he said fights can be conversations. He didn't mean you start hearing voices from flying fists. What Umemiya meant was, fighting is a primal way to communicate, a way to express raw things like love or hate. When Sakura hears the word love, he spits out his coffee straight into Umemiya's eyes. Hotaru jumps up, ready to defend his boss from Sakura's caffeine attack, but the others calm him down, telling him it was clearly an accident. Tachibana doesn't care if it was or wasn't. She just says they better clean up their own mess. As Umemiya wipes himself off, he goes back to what he was saying and asks Sakura if maybe he started to like Kagami after their talk during the fight. Maybe that's why Sakura tried to get back at him after Tomiyama knocked him out. Umemiya thinks Sakura managed to have a real conversation with Kagami through their fists. Sakura can't deny it. After the fight, he started to understand Kagami a bit better. He just doesn't get why that's such a big deal. Umemiya simply says he's happy for Sakura. He heard someone interesting was coming to town and figured it must be him. After spending just a few days together, Umemiya can say with 100% confidence, Sakura's a good guy. And when a good guy like Sakura shows up, Umemiya is always down to throw a party. If that's the case, Sakura suggests they could have just called it a welcome party instead of Conversation Day. Umemiya thinks that's actually a great idea. Sakura still can't wrap his head around how these people are so incredibly welcoming toward him, especially how Umemiya just pulled him into his world like it was nothing. Sakura came here with one goal: to take Umemiya's title as leader. But now he knows that's not going to happen. No one ever accepted him before, so he swore to get strong on his own. He came here to prove himself, to claim the #1 spot, to feel validated in his lonely pursuit of strength. But it seems like you actually need the support of others, just to even have a shot at being the best. Sakura feels like he can't accept others, so maybe he'll never reach the top. But wait, Yuri cuts in and corrects him. Sakura can accept people, because when he first met Yuri and got beaten up, he still had the guts to say that Yuri wasn't ridiculous, and that really meant a lot to him. Yuri forgets what else he was going to say, but Sakura still gets the message loud and clear. Then Umemiya asks Sakura directly if he now knows what it means to talk with your fists. Sakura has no idea. So Umemiya explains, to have a real conversation through fighting, you've got to face your opponent head-on and actually want to understand them, and Sakura managed to do just that. Umemiya's not saying Sakura has to suddenly start accepting everyone. But if he wants to learn how, he at least has to start by facing them honestly. The fact that Sakura did that with Kagami means that deep down, he still believes the people around him can be good. And if he can learn to accept others, he can achieve anything he wants, even becoming the best. The warm smiles of the people around him help reassure Sakura that not everyone is as awful as he once thought. Still, it's super embarrassing. So he blurts out that when he becomes the boss someday, that'll mean he defeated Umemiya. And yeah, that's definitely true. But Umemiya just laughs and says, that's a future me problem. Just then, Kotaro stands up and grabs a chair, ready to throw it at Sakura. He's way too jealous of how close Sakura's gotten to Umemiya. Everyone tries to hold him back, but Sakura's totally ready to fight if Kotaro is. Tachibana yells at them to take it outside if they're really going to throw down. The next day, Sakura's out walking around, still feeling the aftermath of yesterday's fight. But all that's on his mind is Umemiya's advice about getting to know the people around him. Suo and Yuri suddenly show up behind him and greet him, which catches Sakura off guard. They say they've been calling him for a while, and even though they didn't mean to scare him, Suo thinks his reaction is hilarious. The three of them head to class together. As they walk through the halls, Yuri notices everyone is staring at them, which makes him a bit nervous. Suo says it's totally normal after what happened yesterday. Sakura doesn't care what anyone thinks, so he just ignores it and opens the classroom door. But the moment he does, he's swarmed by a bunch of students. Everyone wants to hear about the fight between him and Suo. Neither Suo nor Sakura want to waste time explaining, so they dump the task on Mayuri. Just as Mayuri's about to start telling the story, a guy in the back of the class chimes in. It's the same guy who was lifting weights when Sakura first showed up. Mayuri recognizes him. It's Tiga. According to her, Tiga's a bit of a weirdo, but just as skilled as Suo or Kotaro. Definitely not someone to mess with. Tiga completely ignores Sakura and starts pressing Suo, asking if he's finally ready to give the answer he's been asking for. Suo still isn't ready to reveal anything, and Tiga's fine with that for now, because he's got a question he wants to ask Sakura. He flexes his muscles and throws out the question, "What's your virtue?" He asks that to every guy he meets because he believes it's important. Every man should live by an ideal, and he's curious about Sakura's. Mirai understands. Tiga's obsessed with gathering info about people he likes. For example, he knows Tiga always puts on his right shoe first and only drinks protein shakes. Tiga's surprised that someone knows so much about him even though they've never met, but he respects the dedication. So he starts to like Mirai. Sakura finds Tiga pretty weird, so he's not sure if the guy's actually strong, but Suo assures him Tiga's the real deal, even though Suo doesn't really like him either. Since everyone's gathered to hear Sakura's story, Tiga suggests they all meet after school to talk about virtue. But suddenly, everyone acts super busy and quickly bails out. That's when Hotaru walks into the room, takes one look at Tiga, and decides he wants no part in whatever weirdness Tiga has planned. So he heads straight to his desk. Tiga asks the three of them to join him, but Sakura and the others aren't really in the mood. Still, Tiga doesn't take no for an answer and drags them along anyway. They all end up at Tiga's favorite spot. It looks like some kind of WB-themed restaurant, so Sakura doubts the food is any good. But when Tiga shows him one of the menu items, Sakura realizes the food actually looks amazing. Tiga wonders if Sakura's really into food. Maybe that's his virtue. But Sakura says he's not particularly interested in food. Tiga notices Sakura's dodging the question, so he challenges him to a fight instead. That grabs Sakura's attention. Tiga isn't mad or anything. He just remembers how awesome Sakura looked when he declared he'd become the boss of Furim. There's no way someone like that doesn't have some kind of virtue. But if Sakura won't talk about it with words, Tiga wants him to show it with his fists. Sakura's totally up for a fight, but his attention shifts to the entrance when one of their classmates walks in. Sakura recognizes him. It's Mitsuki, and he's holding hands with a girl. Sakura's never done that before, so he instantly feels defeated and lowers his head. Mitsuki greets his classmates, but the moment he sees Tiga, he quietly escorts the girl to the back of the restaurant to avoid Tiga's weird energy. Mirai's hyped to see Mitsuki show up, because now 4 of the 5 strongest first years are all in one place. Tiga's pumped too. Mirai starts talking about how Mitsuki used to go to a super fancy school for rich kids. But that didn't stop him from taking on older delinquents alone. The guy also has secret romance skills, so it's no surprise he's popular with the girls. Mirai even wonders if the girl he brought is his girlfriend. But Sakura doesn't care about love talk. He just wants to know how strong Mitsuki really is. Tiga shouts over to Mitsuki, letting him know Sakura wants to learn more about him. Mitsuki turns and looks Sakura right in the eye. He's fine chatting, but he'll have to wait. He's on a date right now. Tiga doesn't pick up on that at all and keeps pestering Mitsuki to join their virtue talk, even inviting the girl along. She looks terrified. So Mitsuki firmly tells him to knock it off. He knows Tiga doesn't mean any harm, but with that massive build and booming voice, he's obviously going to scare people if he gets loud out of nowhere. If Tiga doesn't learn to tone it down, he's never going to be popular with girls. Tiga realizes his mistake and sincerely apologizes for scaring her, but since she's already shaken, Mitsuki suggests they head to another restaurant. Tiga feels bad scaring her goes against his own virtue. Before he can say more, they notice a commotion near the entrance. Mitsuki and the girl are surrounded by a gang. When the others step outside to check, Mitsuki explains he saw a guy harassing a girl earlier. So he knocked him down and brought her here, but it looks like the guy called backup to get revenge and track them down. Mitsuki was just helping someone, and Tiga grabs his shoulder, praising him for being so awesome. His virtue must be protecting women. But as Tiga keeps going on and on about virtue, Mitsuki warns him it's not the time. Tiga doesn't hear him, so Mitsuki nearly gets hit from behind, but Sakura jumps in and drops the attacker with a kick. There's one thing Sakura can't stand: cheap shots. He's not letting these punks get away with that. Tiga agrees. He and Sakura get ready to face the crowd. Meanwhile, Suo tells the girl to back off so she doesn't get caught or used as a hostage. He's not going to join the fight, but he assures her those three can handle it like pros. Tiga asks Sakura if he wants to sit this one out, since he's still banged up from yesterday's fight. But Sakura never backs down from a brawl. When the crowd charges, one guy goes straight for Tiga with a punch. Tiga gets knocked back, but when the guy tries a follow-up strike, Tiga grabs his arm and shouts that he always lets his opponent land the first hit before unleashing his own rage. Then he suplexes the guy in the flashiest way possible, because his virtue is to always steal the spotlight. Sakura thinks it's silly, but Tiga's always been weird like that, so he keeps fighting. Suddenly, another guy comes at Sakura. He spins around and kicks him away. Then he complains to Mitsuki for launching attackers in his direction. Mitsuki says it's faster that way. Whenever another guy tries sneaking in, he just sends them flying towards Sakura, since only Sakura and Tiga are really fighting. Everyone wonders if Mitsuki's doing it on purpose because he enjoys it, but Suo thinks it's more about keeping the attackers as far away as possible from the girl. Inari, since she doesn't know how to fight, Suo tells Mitsuki not to worry, they've got each other's backs. When one guy tries to sneak past, Suo slams him to the ground. Everything's under control. The fight ends in a clean win for the Furim boys. And now that it's over, Tiga turns to Sakura and says he can say the line. Sakura has no idea what he's talking about, which makes sense. He's only been here for 3 days, so Tiga tells him to memorize it. Anyone who causes pain, wrecks things, or hides bad intentions in their heart will get beaten by Furin's fury, no exceptions. To really drive the message home, Mitsuki walks up to the guy who started it all and warns him what'll happen if he ever pulls something like that again. As they head out, Mitsuki tells the girl that everything's fine now, and she's genuinely grateful for how much he and the others helped her. Before she leaves, Mitsuki mentions that he knew Sakura had to be strong after seeing him fight Tommy. But he didn't expect him to be that strong. Tiga adds that Sakura's aiming to be the top dog someday, but Mitsuki hadn't heard that. He was gaming when Sakura introduced himself. He's glad he found out about Sakura's strength before the vote for class captain. Either way, he wants Sakura's contact info so they can keep in touch. The others want Sakura's number too, but he's never had friends before, so he doesn't even know how to share his contact. Mitsuki says he'll just add his number himself, but when he opens Sakura's contact list, there's only one entry: weather forecast. Everyone cracks up. They end up giving Sakura their numbers, and the next day he's walking around distracted, staring at all his new contacts. Tachibana sneaks up behind him and asks what he's looking at. Sakura jumps and drops his phone. Tachibana apologizes for startling him, but when she bends down to pick up the phone, she takes a peek at his contacts and decides to add her number too. Sakura acts like he doesn't care, but he's actually happy to see another name added. Then he notices he's been added to a group chat with all the guys. He wants to ask about that class captain thing Mitsuki mentioned yesterday, but since he's not used to messaging people, he doesn't know how to jump into the conversation, so instead, he just eats his breakfast and heads to class to ask them in person. Everyone gets that he's new to texting, so it's no surprise he didn't catch the full story yet. A moment later, the 3 second-year leaders arrive: Minamoto, Kurama, and Kaji, and no one seems too thrilled to see them. Minamoto tells everyone he doesn't care how they do it, but they need to decide on a class captain. The class captain basically leads the class. They're the big shot. Suo raises his hand, so Sakura assumes he's volunteering. But instead, Suo points right at Sakura and nominates him to be the class captain. Sakura tries to speak, but everyone starts shouting that he'd be a great captain. He argues that Hotaru would be a better fit, but they all immediately point out that Hotaru doesn't have the personality for the job. Sakura insists he's not the right person either. He's a total outsider. But the other students don't care. Sakura has already proved himself in just a few days and earned their trust. Plus, the class's top 3 fighters are backing him. SUO even steps up and offers to be one of Sakura's right-hand men, suggesting Tiga take the other spot. Sakura can't believe what's happening. The class captain is supposed to be the best of the best. He reflects on how he used to want that title just to feed his ego, and realizes he's starting to sound like Tommy now. One of the second-year helpers starts getting impatient and loudly declares that the class captain role isn't that special. The guy was yelling way too loud until he takes off his headphones, and his voice goes back to normal. Turns out he was blasting music the whole time. People are wondering if his eardrums are even okay. He tells Sakura to just take the role, saying no one expects him to be perfect. If it doesn't work out, they can always swap him for someone else later. Sakura gets annoyed and tells the second year to decide himself, but then finds out he's not the real second-year captain. Minamoto steps up and declares that Sakura is officially the first-year class captain. Sakura quickly reminds them he hasn't agreed to anything yet. Minamoto fires back. Sakura, you said a captain has to make decisions, and Kaji already made his. Everyone tries to reassure Sakura that he'll be fine. Well, everyone except Hotaru, who's passed out. Mirai's stunned as the second years start sharing their contacts with Sakura and SUO. Minamoto comments that this batch of freshmen has real talent and tells Sakura to do his best leading them. Sakura has no idea how to handle all this, so Minamoto tells him to just do whatever he wants for now. But that only annoys Sakura more. He doesn't want anything. Minamoto gets an idea and tells the 3 guys to stick close to Kaji during his rounds. He doesn't tell Sakura, but Kaji used to get into fights all the time before high school. You never know what'll set him off. Suddenly, an older lady starts crying about her lost child, and Kaji assures her they'll find him. Mirai is stunned when Kaji hands the job over to Sakura. Sakura can't believe it either. He thought captains were supposed to be more threatening. Mirai's worried about the missing kid, and Sakura boldly declares that they will find him. Then he's shocked to see SUO share that exact quote in the group chat. Sakura figures no one will care, but the whole group gets pumped. He runs into a cat, and Minamoto shows up to say the missing kid is actually a missing cat. They all start chasing the feline, but it climbs up a building. Minamoto says, well, not much we can do now. But Sakura stuns everyone by pulling off some flawless parkour and scaling the building with ease. He's right behind the cat, while Kaji watches closely. Sakura nearly runs into someone, but he's still focused on catching that annoying cat. The little furball jumps off a dangerous bridge, leaving Sakura frozen for a second. But then he's shocked as Kaji suddenly dives after the cat without hesitation. Moments later, the elderly lady is full of gratitude toward Minamoto for saving her cat, but he gives all the credit to Kaji. She tries to thank Kaji, but he just tells her to make sure it doesn't happen again. She promises to be more careful, and the team receives a thank you gift. Sakura walks up and asks Kaji what on earth he even wants as a captain, but Kaji honestly has no idea what he's talking about. He explains that he never wanted to be captain in the first place. He just took the role because his friends wanted him to. Sakura starts to put the pieces together and realizes Kaji's situation is kind of like his own. So, if Kaji doesn't have a clear reason to be captain, maybe Sakura doesn't need one either. But for some reason, Kaji takes offense to that and says something cryptic about not being able to make sweets if things fall apart. He explains that he's not good at communicating like SUO or rallying people like Minamoto, so he relies on them. But at the same time, they rely on him too. He feels the need to live up to their expectations and tries his best. Sakura realizes that not having a clear goal might be okay, but now he wonders, does he really want to live just to meet others' expectations? Yuri gives Sakura the gift they received and says he looked like a ninja while chasing that cat. She tells him she's always known she could count on him because he's reliable. Wanting to be sure about what Kaji said, Sakura asks his friends if they picked him as class captain because they truly trust him. Without hesitation, they say yes and promise he can count on them too. A little later, Sakura faints inside Tachibana's restaurant after helping the elderly lady. She jokes that maybe she's gotten a little heavier. But Sakura brushes it off kindly. Even though he clearly looks worn out, Tachibana notices how tired he seems and asks if he's been sleeping well. She's right, but Sakura doesn't tell her that he stayed up all night thinking about being captain. He's caught off guard when Tachibana asks if the class has already chosen a captain. She guesses it's him and says she believes he'll be a great one. Sakura, however, admits he's not sure what to do. Thankfully, Tachibana gives him simple advice. If he's unsure, he should just begin by doing what he can. Sakura can't argue with that, but tells her not to meddle too much. Still, she offers one more helpful tip. Remembering people's names and faces is a great place to start. Calling people by name shows that you took the time to know them better. Sakura suddenly realizes he's never been using anyone's name, so Tachibana encourages him to start practicing right away. Feeling overwhelmed, Sakura just runs off. The old lady calls him shy, but Tachibana thinks he's just afraid of forming close bonds with people. When Sakura gets back to school, he asks Sayori to tell him everyone's names. His sudden interest surprises the group, and Sakura simply says it couldn't hurt to know more about them. His friends tease him, wondering if he even knows their names, which offends Sakura. Minori starts naming the students, but one guy called Auntie seems upset and leaves the classroom. Right then, an announcement calls all class captains and their assistants to meet on the rooftop. Yuri gets excited, wondering what it's about, and encourages Sakura to hurry. When they arrive, everyone's already there. Hotaru is working on gardening, and Minamoto explains that these first-year captains and aides were mostly famous during middle school. The second years are mostly guys who've held their positions since their first year at South High. Minamoto has already talked with most of them, but Sakura starts feeling overwhelmed. Now he has even more names and faces to memorize. Yuri starts helping him review all the names. Sakura can't believe he doesn't even know the names of all the captains. But Nier jumps in, saying that he actually knows the names and faces of everyone in the school. Even SUO is shocked. Nier explains he recently borrowed the school list and memorized every name. He admits he's not much help in a fight, so he figured he could support Sakura by doing what he can, just like Prometheus. Impressed by Nier's dedication, SUO decides to name him their official negotiator. The other guys are a bit confused, so SUO explains that Nier's skill is persuading people to agree with their requests. SUO then declares that everyone should do their best. Sakura is amazed by how well his friends know their own strengths. He starts delegating roles to them, and they're all shocked when Sakura actually calls them by name. Just then, Yumi shows up with more students. Sakura gets irritated thinking about having to learn even more names, especially the names of the class captains. But Nier panics, explaining that these people aren't just class captains, they're the 4 Knights of Enryoku, along with their assistants. Sakura has no idea why Niar is so worked up. So Niar explains again. These are the 4 legendary leaders of Tsubaki High: Koko Mizuki from Team Komatsu, Mamut from Team Hojo, and of course the 4th one as well. Yumi thanks everyone for coming and says the people behind him will be taking over Furin's leadership going forward. But before diving into that, he has something more important to share. His garden was completely transplanted thanks to Kataro's help, so the summer barbecue is going to be amazing. Irad interrupts and reminds Yumi that this isn't the time to talk about gardening. He gathered everyone here, so the least he could do is greet the new captains properly. Yumi wasn't planning on giving a big speech, but he has something to say. He turns to everyone and says, "I'm counting on all of you. He may be strong, but he can't be everywhere at once, and he can't protect everyone all the time." So he wants them to protect each other. Everyone promises to live up to his expectations, and then they start chatting among themselves. After a while, Yumi walks up to Sakura's group, excited to see Sakura as the new captain. He tells Nier and SUO he's counting on them too, but if any of them run into trouble, they shouldn't hesitate to ask the upperclassmen for help. With that, the meeting basically ends, and Sakura and the others head back to class. When they get back, Taiga starts asking why the heck they were even called up there. Then Rintaru starts bragging that he got to meet the 4 heavenly kings. After school, everyone heads out together. And since there's no patrol duty today, Taiga suggests going to the Western Museum again. He doesn't really like the idea himself, but the others quickly shut it down. Just then, Sakura spots a few guys walking through the street in matching white jackets. They look pretty sketchy. So he asks them if they're looking for something. The leader of the 3 says they're searching for someone from Furin, but none of them match the description, so they turn and walk away. As they leave, SUO sees the logo on the back of their jackets and recognizes it. They're from Q. SUO doesn't know much about them, but there are nothing but shady rumors. Suddenly, everyone hears an older woman screaming. And when they check a nearby alley, they find Asahi beaten and bloody. Eventually, Asahi wakes up and sees everyone around him looking worried. But when they take him inside and ask what happened, he starts talking nonsense about being chased by a giant dog and hitting his head. No one believes that story, not even Sakura. He presses Asahi for the truth, but Asahi doesn't want to talk about it and quickly makes an excuse to leave. Sakura wonders if this has anything to do with the Q guys they saw earlier. Hans tries to deny it, but his expression gives him away. He also takes off to avoid saying anything more. But now that they've seen Asahi's reaction, they all start piecing it together. Q must be behind this. They wonder how SUO even figured that out, since there wasn't really any proof. But one of those guys earlier just had such a villain vibe that it was kind of obvious. Nier asks what the plan is if Q really did beat up Asahi. They want to help him, but Sakura says jumping in too fast could be reckless. Plus, Asahi never actually asked for help. Maybe he doesn't want to drag them into it. Even so, Mirai thinks it's their duty as friends to step in, even if Asahi doesn't want them to. That reminds Sakura of what a certain someone told him once. They should look out for each other as much as they can. So he takes off in a rush. Before he goes, the old lady offers him some food as a gift. Sakura gets flustered but accepts it and leaves without another word. After spending time with Sakura, they know he wants to help Asahi. He just won't admit it out loud. That night, Asahi is seen talking with a girl at a park. She's really upset about him getting involved in something like this, but he insists he can handle it. She asks if he convinced Nagato to come back to their team. But he says no luck. Anzu's worried that if Nagato stays with Q, he might cross a line he can't return from. She tries to convince Asahi to ask Furin for help, but he refuses. Furin's job is to protect the whole city. And this is personal. He doesn't want to drag everyone else into it. She doesn't want him dealing with it alone, so she offers to go with him the next time he confronts Nagato. But he shuts that down. It's too dangerous for her. He tells her not to worry, but seeing how hurt he already is, there's no way she can't worry. After Asahi leaves, she sits on a bench. That's when Sakura shows up and asks her about the conversation she just had with Asahi. She hesitates, but Sakura tells her he's in the same class as Asahi. When she sees his uniform, she realizes he's telling the truth, so she agrees to explain. Turns out she and Asahi have been close since they were kids. They used to play together all the time. Then this guy Nagato joined their little crew. Even though they all went to different schools, she thought they'd always stick together. Recently, she met up with Asahi at the park to catch up. She could tell he wasn't doing well. Figured he'd been in another fight or something. That's when she brought up wanting to meet up with Nagato again, so the three of them could hang out like old times. But Asahi dropped a bomb. He told her he was hurt by someone from a gang called Q. He saw a guy stealing purses outside the city and grabbed his arm to stop him. But when he looked closer, he realized it was Nagato. She couldn't believe Nagato would ever do something like that. So Asahi wanted to bring him back and hear his side of the story. But when he came back, he was beaten up and didn't want to talk. He only said that Q was bad news and that he'd handle it himself. She's incredibly frustrated because her friends are in trouble and she feels powerless to help. She starts crying hard. Sakura, still struggling with emotions, doesn't know what to do. But eventually he tells her that he'll bring Nagato back so they can work things out. She's relieved to hear that, even though Anzu said it was a bad idea to involve Furin. But Sakura says it'll all work out, so she can leave it to him. She gives him a small smile and thanks him for being reliable. Then she stands up and says all this drama made her hungry. Sakura immediately clutches his food and says she can't have any, even though she wasn't even asking for it. Sakura said he'd help, but now he needs to figure out how. Back in class, the others greet him, but then he spots Asahi across the room, trying to pass off his injuries as a bear attack. No one's buying that. Sakura knows that asking directly won't get him anywhere, so he doesn't bring up the talk he had with Itsuki yesterday. That's when a student from another class shows up, looking for Asahi. He walks over and says a weird guy in a hoodie gave him a letter to deliver to Anzu. Asahi recognizes the description and starts freaking out about what the letter might say. He hesitantly opens it, and it's just as bad as he feared. He bolts out of the room. Sakura chases after him, shouting for him to stop, but Asahi won't slow down. Sakura has to jump down the stairs to cut him off. He tells Asahi he heard everything from Itsuki, so he knows the letter is from Q. He asks to see it, and what he finds is a photo of Q's group holding Nagato, who looks badly hurt. They're demanding Asahi meet them at the shipyard. Asahi tries to brush it off, saying it's not his problem. But Sakura puts a hand on his shoulder and sincerely asks for more. He truly wants to help. Finally, Asahi agrees to explain everything. 2 days ago, he saw someone from Q's group grab an elderly woman's purse. He stepped in and stopped the guy, but when he pulled down the hood, it was Nagato. Nagato looked stunned. He hit Asahi in the face and ran away. Asahi couldn't believe what had happened. The next day, he went back to that place to find Nagato and get answers. When he saw him again, Nagato was being yelled at for not bringing enough money. One of the group members grabbed his shirt and threatened to hurt him for every bit of money he was missing. Asahi couldn't just watch. He ran in, pushed the guy away, and held out his hand to help Nagato leave. But Nagato pulled away and told him he shouldn't have come. Then the others gave Nagato a bat. He took it unwillingly, and it was clear he didn't want to use it. Still, he swung it and hit Asahi on the head. Eventually, Asahi managed to escape and ended up in the alley where the others found him. Sakura can't understand why Nagato would stay with Q after all that, and neither can Asahi, but he knows something seriously wrong. Nagato never cried, not even when he broke his leg or got lost in that cursed forest. So Asahi can't even imagine what could have happened to make him like this. He may not know the full story, but he does know he has to get Nagato out of there. Sakura gets it and tells Suo to hurry up so they can save Nagato. Asahi says he doesn't want to drag Furin into his mess, but Sakura says he's not going as a Furin member. He's going because Anzu asked him to bring Nagato back, so now it's his problem too. At that exact moment, the entire class starts pouring down the stairs. They heard the whole story. They ask Asahi why he didn't tell them anything. He says it's because Furin is supposed to protect the city, not deal with stuff outside it. Taiga steps in and says they're not helping because they're in Furin. They're helping because they're his damn friends. Even Hotaru wakes up from his nap, grumpy but ready to help. Now that everything's clear, the entire Class 1 heads out to the abandoned shipping yard to rescue Nagato. When Minamoto and the others see them through the window, they wonder what the heck is going on. That's the end of Season 1. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more anime recaps.